Hello world, I'm your host, Data Mining Mike, and on this episode of the podcast, we're going to talk about how is AI used in the trucking industry. Today's guest is Peter, the founder of Dispatch Robot and industry expert in the world of logistical freight load prediction. Dispatch Robot is a group of machine learning models or artificial intelligence. I am highly confident at the end of this period of instruction, you're going to be able to take what you've learned and apply it to your knowledge of AI startups and the trucking industry, and that's called value. And because of that, you should like this video. Remember that sharing is caring, subscribing is what winners do, but smashing the bell is what Steve Jobs would do. Steve Jobs smashed the bell. But first, AI news. Do you want to waste your life away monitoring truckloads, staring mindlessly at columns and rows? It's like gold mining without a sluice. Your load hero has arrived. This isn't just big data, this is big motherfucking data. Introducing Dispatch Robot, the hottest new application of artificial intelligence to hit the hotshot trucking industry. World-class researchers behind Dispatch Robot have discovered a series of mathematical formulas and have engineered variables to determine the ideal trucking loads for you, giving bad mother truckers money-making time savings and the sexiest loads possible. Dispatch Robot is your virtual friend that can keep watch for you while you do better things in life, like work out and get all the hot girls. Or all the hot guys. Make your girlfriend so jealous. Check out Dispatch Robot link in the video description below. So let's talk about Dispatch Robot.
Yeah. Dispatch Robot AI is the full name, is a tool that fundamentally has a goal of solving a simple problem in logistics. And that is which box goes on which trailer. This is a universal problem in shipping. If you had a purely kind of socialist business model where the state owned all the supply and the capacity, this might be a pretty easy organizational problem to solve. You have a bunch of boxes, you have a bunch of trailers, you own all of them, so you can easily manage a schedule between them. Mm-hmm. The problem becomes a lot more difficult when the entire segment, the entire market on both sides is fragmented. So you have a lot of different companies who do things a lot of different ways, and you have a lot of different trucking companies who also do things differently. And they have their own schedule preferences, their own requirements, et cetera, et cetera. So now the problem of matching becomes a little bit more difficult. And the way it's been solved up to now is via two-sided marketplaces. So I know a list of shippers and I know a list of companies. Let me call a bunch and see if they have available capacity or if they have freight. And then middlemen arose post kind of the regulation area of trucking, which I believe was in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, where they no longer had the federal government involved in setting the prices for certain lanes. So the government kind of was involved in trucking up to this point of connecting shippers to carriers, and they had predetermined lane prices. So actually a pretty profitable time for trucking companies. Ever since deregulation kind of came into effect, you had kind of the price war started, where now freight was really cheap. The end consumer had a really good benefit, but trucking became a lot harder to become profitable. You know, the net profit margins, I think on average are now about 6%. So if you make $1 million in gross, on average, you'll make about 60 grand in profit. Not that great. So the margins are super slim, almost like the restaurant industry in that regard. And there's been a handful of companies that have tried to solve this problem. You know, the classic example is Uber, where you have the app platform that's creating a network of capacity to a network of passengers. Same problem. Which person goes into which car versus which box goes on which truck. Mm-hmm. And Uber has tried to do this in trucking too. However, I think the model is completely different in trucking than it is in any kind of two-sided marketplace matching problem. In trucking specifically, you already have an established a network layer of shippers, middlemen who connect the capacity to the freight, and then the end carrier. Like both of these three big groups are completely fragmented. Like there's just a ton of small players all trying to figure it out. And Uber's business model is to come in and basically become the go-to middleman, period. That means they have to kind of collapse an entire market into one player. Mm-hmm. Unlike Uber for passengers, there wasn't 3,000 established middlemen already doing what Uber's doing, but they just did it manually, and Uber came in and killed them. They created this new way of interacting. And so I don't think, my humble opinion is that no one's really cracked it. Not yet, at least. And I think the reason is you can't collapse a bunch of businesses into one. It's a very expensive proposition. You're going to face a lot of friction because people want to protect their businesses. They want to protect their profits. But what you can do, I think, instead is just become the de facto technology, become the de facto way that these people communicate in digital space. Give them each the tools to say, hey, we know you have to find each other. That's for sure the entirety of your business, but you're spending 80% of your day on finding each other. Do what you do well, and we'll build the technology to help you find each other effectively. So right now, the biggest issue, I just got off the phone on the way here with a business owner of a trucking company, and I was asking him what his kind of favorite thing about Dispatch Robot is and what he didn't like. And I asked him, how much of your time is spent on finding freight? He's a business owner, like he's running 20 trucks. This guy's busy. About 90% of his time is spent on just finding. So not actually doing the work, but potentially looking for the right opportunity. That's a tremendous cost on the entire industry as a whole. It adds up to billions of dollars a year. So the perspective for Dispatch Robot AI is not how do we become the biggest player of any one market or any one group, shippers, brokers, or carriers. It's more like, can we actually build technology to eliminate the song and dance that happens currently? Because that's where the money is to be made. That inevitably has downstream effects of higher net operating margins for both sides. Because if they're both spending less time wasted, they end up having more money in their pocket. Yep. So our money should come from the waste in the industry, not from someone else's profit. So that's Dispatch Robot.
Yeah. Time arbitrage.
Time arbitrage. That's all automation is mining minutes instead of raw material.
Mining minutes instead of raw material.
Yeah, that's it.
A beautiful way to put it. Mining minutes. Because we all have the same 24 hours in the day.
Right.
90% of your time is sitting in front of a screen, going through Excel rows, and trying to find something that you think might be good enough when you can have something do it for you, which is Dispatch Robot.
And I would add to that, if the list was just one big Excel list, that actually would have been an easier problem to solve because then you filter the list through your needs. However, the data is often incomplete, so it's missing some key data point. So you have to then manually inquire to fill that in. And the second thing is the Excel sheet is actually fragmented across a bunch of different tabs.
Okay.
So they only get a subset of the data from any given platform. And so now they have to juggle a real-time list amongst a ton of different logins and a ton of different UIs and UXs to figure out what's best for them. So if it was just one Excel list, you would have a consistent user experience, you'd have a consistent user interface, and then you could easily filter that. But because it's fragmented in nature, it's across a ton of different UI UXs, and it's all real-time and manual. So it's a compounding effect of resistance versus just manual work. Because all jobs up to now are manual work. Otherwise, we wouldn't need humans. Like humans have to show up and manually do something for the economy to work. That's the way I understand it. So the manual part is not the issue. The issue is that it's broken up and it's too difficult to do in real time. It's like, so let us aggregate and then actually automatically filter, and then we'll leave you to do the manual work, but for a very, very focused subset of the data that applies specifically to you for your current context. It's like that's the first step of solving this problem. So manual is not the issue. The issue is that it's across a bunch of different data sources. The user interface, user experience is completely different across all these different data sources. And so the tax is on the end user. And I believe all tools, the tax should be on the makers, not the users.
That's a good way to put it. The tax should be on the makers, not the users. And let me just reinforce to the audience. Peter is a very, very skilled data engineer. He has taken so much from multiple sources and has been able to compile a master data set, which is phenomenal. And this master data set is because of his skill, his techne, a thing you can't quantify. And so when you're seeing something like Dispatch Robot, you realize that this is a powerful agent that is going to really revolutionize an industry.
Whoever does this totally will be a step in the right direction for making the industry work better as a whole. Whether it's us, fingers crossed, and we're working hard to kind of be the player that does this. There's a ton of competition in the space now. So there's startups that have already raised, from anywhere from $20 to $45 million that have a ton of resources behind them that we just don't have right now. But I actually think that this, boundaries set, creativity. If you can solve the problem with a lot of money, you end up not solving it as creatively as one could, given their constraints. So constraints, not boundaries. Because we're so constrained in terms of resources, we have to be as efficient as possible with solving this problem. So our solutions tend to be more lightweight than the competitors. And that allows for a higher profit margin from the get-go, A, and then B, we meet the end user where they are. So right now, Dispatch Robot works by being a Chrome extension or a browser-based extension, which allows us to work on top of the platforms. So people already have the muscle memory of going to a specific platform or a handful of platforms every single day. Dispatch Robot is now just there on top of these tools. So it's like having a digital assistant come in and just meet you where you are that just kind of knows your industry, versus going like, hey, by the way, everything that you know how to do, undo that and then go to our tool. It's very hard. So the solutions that I've seen with the resource behind them, what they end up doing is they end up doing too much. So they're not just solving freight aggregation and automation. They're also doing your bookkeeping, and they're also doing your management. They're also doing your scheduling, invoicing, accounting, et cetera, et cetera. To get the benefit of any one of those tools, you have to agree to use all of them. And so it's like, well, I don't need accounting because I already have my accounting practices. I don't need load management because I already use another piece of software for that. And so I only need this one thing that you guys do really well. Can I just use that? No, you have to pay for the entire bundle. So I think that's where our edge lies, is gaining market share on one thing. And that is like solving your freight finding problem today. Like that is the one thing that we do, and we only do that. And I think that actually might just be the way to do it.
Well, who else is doing it?
No one to my knowledge.
Yeah. So if we think about the SWOT analysis, so like strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So let's go through the strengths of Dispatch Robot.
Strengths for the end customer?
Or either or.
Okay.
Like overall strengths that you think that you're providing. We've already established good, solid, data engineered mother set.
Yep.
Or whatever you want to call it, master set.
The way the business owner I just spoke to and a customer of Dispatch Robot, he told me that Dispatch Robot is half a dispatcher for $100 a month. A dispatcher is worth anywhere between like the cost of a dispatcher is anywhere between like $4,000 to $6,000 a month. Details aside in terms of nuance of which state, how big the truck company is, et cetera, but that's a fair average. So if you're getting half of that for $100 a month, the value is really obvious. So the strength is that it's a really lightweight tool for a very inexpensive cost to the end users. The next one is we come from the industry versus we're just like tech people that are trying to go like, oh, trucking is profitable, let's do that. And then ask the customers what they want, think about it, create user stories or some nonsense, and then try to reason about what product to build. So because we understand the problem, Dispatch Robot started as an internal tool when I had my own trucking company. Because we just understand the problem from our first person experience, we actually just like build the stuff that we know we would want and then just go find other trucking companies like us. So in terms of strength, I think deep domain knowledge is the first one. And the second one is we intrinsically understand the problem. So we're able to build a solution that meets the customer where they're exactly at. Versus I think other solutions that I've seen so far. And by the way, I hope this problem gets solved, period. If it happens to be us, great. If not, I don't care. I just care that the problem is solved. Yeah. And then in terms of opportunities, I'm not sure how to go about that. What opportunities do we have that others don't have? Is that the perspective?
Yeah, I'd say you got a lot of opportunities for growth.
Those kinds of
opportunities for
yeah.
data aggregation, opportunities for data laking, data warehousing, data pooling. Don't worry about that. Yeah, it's all good. Opportunities for financial management, for financial gain or whatever.
An analogy that I draw to often in terms of product is Square or Cash App for small businesses. Small businesses prior to Square, if they had to collect credit cards or debit cards at a farmer's market, that's a pretty tedious and difficult problem. They have to sign up with their different banks. They're limited to which credit card they can support. And it's just a really crummy experience overall. Square comes in and builds this amazing little device that connects to the audio jack. And that was a really cool engineering story, by the way, with Square. Their engineers converted audio signals into credit card information.
No shit, that's cool.
That's what they did. So they read the card with their card reader, and then they would convert that into audio signal data, so that way they can get it to the headphone jack without having to pay an Apple accessory tax.
That's fucking awesome.
So creative engineering there. But the way Square started out of just solving this one very specific problem that inevitably expanded to a full point of sale system with inventory management, and their business model is to collect a fee off every financial transaction. I think that's the right business model for trucking. Currently, trucking companies have a ton of waste in terms of manually finding freight. That's the first one. Then they have to manage that data somewhere. So they typically use just an Excel sheet to manage their own information system, or they'll pay a SaaS company to do it for them. And it's often expensive, and I don't understand why. It's literally just text in a database and some files. That's as complex as it is. And then on top of that, once they actually complete a shipment delivery, the payment cycle in trucking is anywhere between net 30 to net 90, depending on which customers you work with. So you have to wait 30 to 90 days after completing a job to get paid. With margins so low in the industry already, that kind of payment delay is really tough to work around. It's tough to remain in business because the costs are just so high in that 30-day to 90-day period. And so trucking companies will use banks effectively to factor their invoices. They'll pay them ahead of time. They'll advance them the payment within 24 hours, and then the bank itself will wait for that invoice to be paid, and they take anywhere from like a 1% to 4% transaction fee. But there's this clear decoupling of all these systems that are completely independent and require a ton of manual work to work between them. So I like to say that all of the data is digital, all of the APIs are manual, and the API is the human being. So the human being is left to do all this juggling between all these different systems.
And you would currently the human is the API.
That's right.
And you want to create the API.
That's right. Well, the API should exist since all the data is already digital. So why is the API not digital?
Because it hasn't been aggregated till you came along.
Right. So the Square business model I really like, because we're starting with a simple card reader. We're meeting the customer where they're at to solve their most immediate problem. But I can see this company evolving into this full development suite of tools for the end user, where they have the automation built in, they have the inventory management, the point of sale software, all of the complexity bundled into that for free. The way we make money is just factor with us. It's like, so we become the financial institution that makes money as the trucking companies are making money, but we give the tools away as part of that experience. So we become the point of sale system for customers, and we just make money when they make money.
Great. And that is good opportunities because you're first to market. You are extensively painting over the end user experience to where you are really getting into the weeds with the accuracy of these models. And you're also the only one doing it. Because they're stuck in their ways, I had this good guy the other day. He's like, you know what? Corporations, they don't care about themselves, and they don't. So if you think about that, like, okay, that makes sense. They really don't. They're just an entity of people, and they do some shit, and they don't care really about research and development. They care about customers and dollars. And how do we get more? And you're saying, you're basically a research and development consultancy firm for big data in the trucking industry. That's one way to put it.
Right.
That develops an amazing Google Chrome extension to the end user to make their experience better.
Right. Yeah. One thing about corporations, I think I think inevitably once they get to a big enough size, corporations are basically a collection of neural nets that don't have an aligned loss function.
That's a really good way to put it, man. I like that.
And I think a startup for a chance of success has to be a small group of neural nets that have a very clear loss function defined. So for us at Dispatch Robot AI, that loss function is manual minutes spent on freight booking. As long as we're optimizing for that to go down, we're making a killer product. If we're not doing that, if our tool increases that time, we're obviously a really terrible product.
Yeah.
And I think having a clear loss function ends up making really good products, or potentially really good products and potentially really good companies. Versus when you get too big, you have a bunch of neural nets all optimizing for different things that are not aligned towards a central theme. And probably that's the most important part. Now, corporations probably do have a clear loss function, which is profit. And then everything is subservient to this ideal. And so it's like if product quality goes down but profit goes up, that's probably a decision they make. We'll see. I think it's one of the great goals to become a corporation, but then prove that you can do things differently. It's very easy to judge when you're not a corporation, like how a corporation acts. But if you can get to that if you can get to that scale and then prove that you can do it differently, congratulations. Like, go ahead and do that. It's a hard problem. And for us, like, that's probably not even the goal, to be a corporation. That's a pretty meaningful metric, a meaningless metric. Like, what is a corporation? It's like, do you really want to run a public company? Do you really want to, be beholden to so much public opinion? Or do you just want to, like, make cool stuff and solve people's problems?
That's true. And I guess that would go to the almighty business finance. So talk about your financial. So we covered strength. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. What are the biggest threats? I'm not going to go jumping around before we answer SWOT analysis.
Threats are some of the incumbents. So some of the actual two-sided marketplaces that already exist. Okay. This would be a natural problem for them to solve. The other threats.
No. Like threats to.
Oh, threats to the business?
Yeah.
Well, I'd say competition in the marketplace is one of the threats. So that would be them developing the product. They already have the distribution, but not the product. We will have the product, but not the distribution. And if there's one hard problem to solve, distribution is harder than product. So they have a chance to make a much better competing product, or maybe even less of a product, but because they have the amplification of the distribution, they have a chance to get all the market share possible for this problem. So that's a potential threat. But that's external, and I think external threats are probably the least threatening ones. Internally, it's more, can we move fast? Can we get enough customers? Can we actually solve their problem given the complicated landscape to make what we want to make? That's a fairly serious threat in my opinion. Like it's all internal. Like, can we move fast enough? Can we build fast enough? Can we scale fast enough to actually capture the market share versus the technology is going to move so fast that we're just going to be left behind.
Yeah. So, and you brought up something that goes back to your strengths. And your strengths is the fact that you are the barrier to entry. Unless somebody can come around and do something better than you can, you are the barrier to entry right now. Someone's got to beat you.
The alternative would be the status quo remains the same for the next 10 years. And that is it just remains completely manual in an AI future. However, that seems so unlikely to be true. You know, like every industry has an AI revolution, but trucking is still going to be done via phone calls and emails in 10 years. Does that sound likely? That seems insane.
Yeah.
So I think one of the strengths is looking at the product of what is the environment going to look like in 10 years versus what is the product going to look like in 10 years. And so, and the trucking environment will be dramatically different in 10 years than it is now. And I think the companies that are currently building products, they're building products for a pre-AI reality versus I think we're building something for a post-AI reality.
Oh, that's a good point.
You know, it's like they're still optimizing on user interfaces. Like they're still doing the whole aggregate, but maybe we'll just still put in a list. The best interface is no interface. The best product is no product. Like, you want as little resistance between the end user and the solution as possible. And a lot of times user interface just gets in the way. And an easy example would be, I want to edit a video. I came up with like a meme idea, and I want to edit a video, but I'm not a video editor. The resistance for me to convert this idea I already see the video in my head. I already know what it looks like, the sound. How do I convert that into an actual video as fast as possible? And it's like, you have to learn how to video edit. You have to know how to like export the video, mix the sound with the, cropping, cutting, splicing. You have to do all these things before you can actually get the video out. So it's like, if there was a video editor that, had this like brain machine interface where you just thought of the video you wanted and it appeared on your screen, like there's no UI there. That's the best. That's what I mean when I say the best UI is no UI.
That's a good way to put it. The best UI is no UI. Your consciousness has been augmented into a machine that can generate something for you and save you time. Right.
I don't know if that's going to be the future. That's probably going to kind of a scary future to think about. Very Black Mirror-esque. I don't know if have you seen Black Mirror?
Yeah, dude, I love Black Mirror.
Yeah, it was like any future product, just go watch a Black Mirror episode and it's like, yeah, okay, I can see how this goes sideways real quick. Anything with VR, AR, it's like Black Mirror has done that version of the product 100 different ways. Like, no,
I like it. It's like the Twilight Zone, but modern day Twilight Zone.
What is the Twilight Zone?
Oh, Twilight Zone's an old show. It's really trippy. It's kind of like the Black Mirror, but just people go off into these strange worlds.
Okay.
And every episode is different.
Okay.
Kind of like Black Mirror, but back in the day, Twilight Zone. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Black Mirror episode?
The Killer Bees.
I don't recall that one.
Dude, it's the one where they have because all the bees were dying, and so they created robotic bees, and so they have all these swarms of robotic bees, and somebody hacked them and fucking had these robotic bees kill people.
No shit.
Yeah, that was really good. That was my favorite one.
Okay, I haven't seen that one. I gotta watch that.
I think it's season 1. I'm pretty sure it's season 1. I should probably redo Black Mirror. It's a good one. I wish they'd come out with more seasons.
I think they just recently did, like a few months ago, a new season.
I'll have to check it out. I'll have to check it out. I'm relying on other people's Netflix and shit because I really don't care. Yeah.
Honestly, paid before the streaming wars kind of matured. Netflix was the path of least resistance for streaming content.
Yeah, they were my cable.
Right. And it's like once that competition increased, they know paid streaming no longer is the path of least resistance. It's like that's really all like iTunes. Steve Jobs solved this a long time ago. iTunes, right? iTunes became easier than Napster. That's why they won. It's because the hardware software integration, that was one. That Napster didn't have that. And then the ability for high quality content that's reliable and repeatable. It's like you always download. It takes a predictable amount of time. The user interface, everything's predictable about the entire experience end to end. And it's like $1 per transaction. By the way, I grew up poor, so it was like when I didn't know that people paid for music. I remember I was like 14 years old, and I was shocked for an adult to tell me that it was my driver's ed teacher. I was 15 actually, and he had the best mixtapes when you would drive with him.
No shit.
Yeah, the best mixes, like 8-minute guitar solos, like famous songs. I never grew up listening to any kind of American cultural music except the things I found on my own. But it's not like there was like a rock and roll history, and this is a favorite genre of his, and. I remember he had, I think, 1,500 songs on his iPod, and he told me he paid for every single one, and I was just like, holy you paid for 1,500 songs? That was insane to me. But as an adult, it's like, yeah, I pay for all things. It's like, as long as the path of least resistance is less when you pay for a product than it is to pirate it, you will win. And I think the streaming wars have inversed that. It's now easier to pirate again than it is to actually pay for 15 different things.
Yeah, I remember I used to get viruses all the damn time from the free music places that I used to use.
LimeWire?
It was a game. I was using Kazaa.
Okay.
It was like some random shit. I remember Napster, but Napster was really cracking down. They put up a paywall. I was going to like free music downloads, but then I was always getting viruses. So, yeah.
An interesting thing of like pirated software like that opens up the door to interesting distribution strategies. Soulja Boy, I don't know if you know who that is. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Soulja Boy actually used LimeWire as a growth hack for himself. He would look at the most popular songs and then upload his song under the same exact title with that same exact artist. And then when they would download it, it's actually Soulja Boy. And
what a spam artist.
Yeah, what a total spammer. But that's how he ended up getting a lot of attention early on, and then his songs went viral. Because he made songs that worked, I guess, for the audience. And so when there's like, oh, I'm downloading Usher or something like that, you actually downloaded Soulja Boy, and you're like, oh, that's actually it's a pretty good song.
That's what I like about it, is no one can own a title.
Right. Yeah. But that doesn't happen on actual platforms, quote unquote. Validated platforms like professional music streaming services. You could never do this. Right. It's interesting how the environment of a product allows for certain creative hacks. Mm-hmm. It's like you couldn't pull the Soulja Boy trick as a verified artist on Spotify.
Yeah.
But on an unverified music platform, if it has attention, all of a sudden unique distribution creative strategies open up. Mm-hmm. So props to Soulja Boy.
Yeah. I always like those people that can find ways to hack the system, and I feel like a lot of that hasn't changed too much as long as you have a good title. Yeah, talk about Toe Piglet.
Yeah. So Toe Piglet, real name Alex. That's my brother.
You guys are the brothers Toe Piglet.
Yeah, the brothers. The Jonas brothers of business.
The brothers Toe Piglet.
Yeah. So Alex, we actually worked together when we first started the trucking company, and he was still in Washington State. And then he ended up deciding to move to Texas. Mm-hmm. And so he wanted to pursue this YouTube thing while doing the trucking thing. And so it was just the best for him was to just like build his own brand.
Yeah.
So he started doing that while we were building our business at the same time. So we were always kind of in a friendly competition of who's growing fastest, who has the most trucks, who has the most revenue, et cetera, et cetera. But smart on him to build a brand. Mm-hmm. That is something that I don't think I paid enough attention to because we were a B2B service. And so it's not like you got more business by becoming a B2C brand. Mm-hmm. However, I think I was actually completely wrong on that. Branding is super important. If no one knows you exist, you don't exist. Yeah. There's a great saying, first time founders focus on product, second time founders focus on distribution.
Oh, that's a good one. I had somebody tell me once, if there's no business sign, there's no sign of business.
There you go. Right. Yeah. But you can trick yourself into, thinking one way is true or not. But Alex just wanted to do YouTube. That's mm-hmm. probably an important thing. Like I never wanted to do YouTube. That's not mm-hmm. something I care to spend my time on. But he was kind of obsessed with like making good content. Mm-hmm. And that ended up leading to a few videos that I think got over 1 million views organically. Mm-hmm. We're talking about trucking content. Like this is not some general purpose, viral video that can go that connects to a ton of people. Like it's
big subscriber base.
Yeah, very niche. Yeah, 160,000 or 161 at this point.
I mean, think about the population of Spokane's like 200,000.
Oh, I think it's got to be more than that now.
But yeah, it's way more than that. But I mean, it's big. It's right. The population of a big city.
Sure.
168,000. That's pretty big.
It would be interesting to know. This is a good data mining for you, Mike. Mm-hmm. The distribution of population amongst all U.S. cities, and then just see where YouTube channels following that line.
Okay, I'll have to look that up.
The bell curve of population of cities. I wonder what that looks like. What is the mean of population? Probably 500,000, I'd say. I mean, it's so totally random. Who knows?
I don't know. I would have to look it up and study it. And intuitively, I know the West Coast has the most.
Over the East Coast?
Yeah. That's California?
I mean, but you have East Coast. New York City, Boston.
Oh, yeah. But California is the largest population in the U.S., hands down. California is the 7th largest economy in the world.
And probably the most beautiful state, I think.
Oh, I love California.
Yeah.
I miss that place.
So Alex lives in Texas. I don't understand the hype of Texas. I think it's overrated as heck.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been to Texas?
No.
Okay. It sucks. Tumbleweeds in concrete is how I describe Texas. Mm-hmm. It's flat, and the only thing that's not flat is any kind of concrete man-made structure. Granted, never been to Austin, so this is a Dallas Fort Worth bias. But been to Houston and LaPorte, or whatever that area is called. I forgot the Bay Area of Texas, like oceanfront. Galveston, that's what it was. Mm-hmm. So Houston, Galveston, Fort Worth, Dallas. I feel like God designed Texas on his day off. In the Bible, when he...
I need to steal that for stand-up. Thank you.
Feel free. It's like California he spent 3 days on, and then Texas was on his day off. It really feels that way.
That's good. I like that. Shit.
So I don't understand the hype at all. The only meaningful difference between those two states is the OS on top of them. It's like government. Mm-hmm. Government is an OS for reality in a lot of ways. It's like
operating system.
Yeah,
it
it's the software layer on top of real life. That's government. And so it's just like the OS of California is so bad that it makes the hardware unlivable. If there was no OS, no one would ever pick Texas over California, in my opinion. I wouldn't, I should say.
Yeah, I miss California, man. I definitely lived. Well, in Southern California, it was nice where I lived because I was it's an Oceanside. It's a nice city.
Were you a surfer?
Oh yeah, I was self-taught.
Oh hell yeah.
Oh yeah, I had to. I remember because at the time when I first learned how to surf, I was living on Camp Pendleton, and I bought 2 boards off of Craigslist, and I went to San Onofre, which turns out I was very blessed to have been living there between these 2 famous beaches, San Onofre and Trussels.
Did you have any selection input on where you got stationed?
Oh yeah. So I was very fortunate to be able to homestead, as they call it, and stay stationed in Camp Pendleton.
Oh, I see.
Because of the needs of the Marine Corps at the time. But before I got out, they were going to send me to... They were going to say, you're either going to go to the East Coast and go be stationed there in Camp Lejeune, and then you're going to go to Afghanistan, or you're going to go to Okinawa, or you're going to go somewhere else and go fight the fucking ISIS, or you're going to go to the East Coast again, but you're not going to be in Camp Pendleton, and you're going to go help with the Ebola outbreak. I'm like, fuck you, I'm getting out. I got the fuck out.
Nice.
And I was happy.
I always felt bad for the guys that get stationed in like Bismarck, North Dakota.
Oh yeah, that's really suck for them.
Man, like getting stationed in Hawaii, getting stationed in California, a decent place. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. You get to travel to an exotic location on the government's dollar. Mm-hmm. But getting stationed in Bismarck, North Dakota, I mean that's a respectable position. We used to deliver a lot of freight through all these different military bases you mentioned. So Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, for anyone who doesn't know. Right? Did I get that right? Yeah. And so like all these oddball cities in all these oddball states, like Bismarck, North Dakota, has a military base, which I believe is actually a nuclear facility. That's where they station some of the warheads. We've kind of been to a lot of them, so I just kind of know these areas just because of the freight delivery that we've done.
Cool.
Kind of a fun. It's like a free history lesson.
Yeah.
Or a geography lesson, I should say.
Yeah, you get around, you start to, and that's what's fun about the U.S. too, and leaving your comfort zone. And
where were you born?
I was born in Wenatchee.
Oh, okay. Not too far. Okay.
Yeah. So
California must have been a blast. Born in Wenatchee.
Yeah. California was a great time, even though Wenatchee's a pretty place if you go out in the mountains. But I miss Southern California. I miss the ocean, and I used to free dive for lobster at night.
Off California coast?
Oh yeah,
that's actually pretty sick.
Yeah, dude. The only time they come out is at night, and so
how deep?
No, usually no more than 5 to 15 feet. Oh, nice. Is where I'd get the bugs, is what we called them, because they look like fucking giant cockroaches. They're called the spiny lobster, and the spiny lobster don't have claws like the Maine lobster.
Okay.
But their bodies are just 3 times the size of a Maine lobster.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So that's actually like probably the best lobster catch, huh? No risk of getting snipped?
Oh, well, okay. So here's the thing. My first time before I went out, my neighbor Lou, so I was living in Oceanside at the time, still in the Marines, but my civilian neighbor Lou, he was telling me, he's like, yeah, he used to do that. He'd call it bug hunting and go out and he'd catch the bugs. And he told me all about it. I'm like, oh, well, I fucking used to scuba dive and I'm scuba certified and I got a lot of stuff, so I was ready to go. And he told me, he's like, and I had my game bag and everything. He's like, yeah, so when you go out, don't wear gloves because you need your dexterity to grab the lobsters. Like, all right, cool. So my first night out, and I did it in Camp Pendleton's harbor. In Camp Pendleton, there are so many fucking lobster. These bugs were sitting there for years unmolested. And I went in and molested the fuck out of them. Like, but I didn't wear gloves at first. And I went and I grabbed a few. And the first one I grabbed, so the spiny lobsters have spines on the bottom of their tails that look like rosebush thorns.
Okay.
And are just as sharp. And they just, they don't attack you in the water. And neither do crabs. When I free dive for crabs, they don't attack you in the water. They wait till you're out of the water, and then they attack you with either their claws or, in the case of the lobster, they would start slapping their tail against your hand, and it would just fuck you up. And bad. And I had horrible cuts. And I went the rest of the night. I put on gloves, and I went the rest of the night. I limited. So you can limit with an hour with the lobster.
What is the limit?
Oh, you could catch like 5 a night.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 a night of the bugs at the time. It's way easier to limit when you're free diving or spearfishing than it is fishing with a pot or whatever.
Sure.
But either way, I went to Lou. I was like, Lou, what the fuck, dude? These things caught me up. He's like, now you learn to respect for the lobster. I'm like, thanks, Lou. My hands are infected. Yeah.
How did it turn out?
Oh, the lobster tastes great. I ended up giving away more lobster than I ever ate.
Okay.
Because I caught so damn many, and I was obsessed. I was like, oh, this is my new passion. I loved it. It was like hunting, but in the water.
Sure.
And I had my flashlight, and sometimes you're in the water, and you're scanning around, and you see some big-ass fucking eyeball at night, and you're like, oh, fuck. You don't want to look, but you got to look. And then you look, and it's this big-ass fucking stingray, like, this ugly fucking, like...
Are those dangerous to people?
Well, it killed Steve Irwin. But no, they are generally safe. And no, I was wearing a wetsuit, so even if it did sting me, it was
Do they all sting?
I've been stung by a stingray.
Okay.
Yeah, surfing. But they do sting, so if you step on them... out wading in the shore, which is the most common time, is they'll sting you. And marine stings are way fucking worse than land animal stings or bites.
Interesting.
Yeah, marine animal stings are way worse. Yeah, there's a whole show called The Kings of Pain. They go into that shit because they're always getting like stuck by certain like crazy fish and urchins and shit. Yeah, it hurt, man. When I stepped on the stingray out surfing, and I went to the emergency room, and I'm glad I did because my foot ended up getting infected anyway.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but it felt so bad, like my whole leg was hurting horribly bad, and I'm like, man, this hurts so bad. I need to go to the emergency room because I don't know what the fuck I did. And I started thinking in biology lessons, like, what stingrays are off the coast of California that could kill people? So I'm going through all this shit. And then I finally went in. They gave me some antibiotics. That was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you learn, did you get scuba certified through the military? Or is that something you did on your personal time?
No, I did that before I joined the Marines in Wenatchee. Yeah.
Scuba certified from Wenatchee.
Yep. So there's a place called Orca Scuba Center. So it's still there. But yeah, Van Ford's the guy who runs it. But it's cool. It's a cool time.
Do you still scuba dive?
The last time I scuba dove was a nuclear missile silo in Royal City, Washington. So Royal City, Washington, if you're going towards George at the Gorge, there is a a road called the Adams Road. And if you take Adams Road, if you take it south all the way to where it ends near the Columbia River, you're going to find another crossroad that you can turn left into Royal City. But you don't turn left into Royal City. You just turn around that crossroad and look behind you, and you're going to see a farmhouse. But behind that farmhouse, directly behind it, is an entire nuclear missile silo complex. And a lot of it's
decommissioned, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And a lot of it's flooded. And that's one of the reasons why the Air Force gave it up. So the Department of Energy owned the...
Like swampland flooded?
Or it's below the water table.
Okay.
So, yeah. So there's this place that in the Tri-Cities, Washington, in Kennewick, called Undersea Adventures. And Undersea Adventures is the only ones with the license to go and scuba dive that place. And so you pay $250 if you're scuba certified, but you still have to do two cold water dives prior to doing that. So I did my 2 cold water dives up in Chelan with them that summer, because they're always, these scuba places are always doing trips all over.
Is there a depth certification that you get also?
Yeah, the most you can, so let's say you get PADI open water. So PADI open water, that's good for up to 50 feet, right?
Okay.
And then you have to go to deeper depths. You have to get more certifications.
I see.
To where you can go like run running nitrogen.
Got it.
Where
Okay.
You're going to mix the oxygen levels, and you have to be very, very scientific about all that shit. Especially the deeper you go, it's more dangerous.
Right.
But confined spaces diving is the most dangerous diving of all the diving. And the nuclear missile silo is the most technical dive I've ever fucking done. And what's crazy is, just as an open PADI open water diver, they're like, oh, it's okay because it's basically a tank dive is what they're saying. But if I wasn't with them as a guide, I would have fucking died. There's no way. Like, if there was
in terms of like what, an underwater almost cave that you would get lost and get stuck.
Oh, I would get lost.
Okay.
I would have easily gotten lost. So I told them, I was like, look, guys, I fucking suck. I know all these guys, they got these nice dry suits and they go out every weekend and this is like their life. But I'm not that experienced with this shit. And they're like, okay, no worries, blah, 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 blah. And so we went, and so they gave me my own personal guy. So it was 6 of us with 2 guides.
Okay.
Right. And we waded through these tunnels that were flooded. Around 300 meters down the tunnels, we waded, pulling kayaks behind us with all of our gear.
At the surface. Okay.
Yeah. And then we got to this one area in this nuclear missile silo before the nuclear missile silo, that we had the staging area, that we had to don all of our gear, and then we had to dive under to get up into the actual nuclear missile silo itself.
Okay.
And the nuclear missile silo itself is not sexy. It's basically a tank dive, it seems like, but because it's all cross beams of eye bars going down, because back in the day, when they wouldn't just launch a nuclear missile, they would have to fill it up with fuel, bring it all the way up to the surface, and then shoot it. It wouldn't shoot out of a tube. I learned a lot. It was like, they're like, you're diving into history. I'm like, fuck yeah, I learned a lot.
So it's a nuclear launch facility, not a nuclear power plant.
Yeah, this is a nuclear missile silo.
Got it.
So there was, I scuba dove 2 of the 3 nuclear missile silos, and the guide that was with me, he took me through the machine room. And I was happy he took me with it, because there's no way I would have been able to have done that. But these damn nuclear missile silos, so the deepest we could go was 105 feet. All right.
Okay.
So we went down, and at 105 feet, there's 2 doors that are ajar that go down below. So the actual missile was below these 2 doors. These 2 doors would open, the missile would go up. And so we were only allowed to go to 105 feet where these 2 doors were. And so at those 2 doors, I felt like I was drunk as fuck, which is not good. And that's another thing. Like, when you're diving through crazy rooms and shit, everything is 10 times harder. You start, like...
Claustrophobia?
Not really claustrophobia as much as, if we're down 50 feet, and we were to dive into this room, into the apartment, you'd probably get fucking lost.
Really?
You'd lose your mind. Oh yeah, because of the pressure, pure darkness. You're like, did I go here? Did I go there? Like, even if you were to go into a big auditorium, you would hit one wall, and even though you know it's a 4-wall room, by the time you're kicking, you're pushing, you're moving, you're kind of exhausted. You're like, is this wall 2 or 3?
How come divers don't use any form of propulsion, even like a tiny, you know?
Oh, they have also. Well, I mean, aside from the flippers, they have some, like the more experienced cave divers. They have like fucking like motors that they hold on to.
That seems to make sense, right?
Yeah. And if you're a crazy cave diver, and I would never do that shit. I'm too afraid to cave dive because it's always that game, just the tit. It's always just the tit. You know, oh, you went down in the cave. Oh, it wasn't that bad. You survived that time, right. And then you start going deeper and deeper and deeper, and then you fuck up. And those cave divers dive all the fucking time. They're doing stupid shit like taking off their gear, pulling it through crap. I never do that. I got kids.
Right, through like tight crevices.
Yeah.
You ever see those videos on YouTube where it's like people are showing how tight of a crevice they're going through?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's staged where it's like it's fairly low risk. So it looks, you know, like we don't know the context. Like what if it's a 2-minute, you know, up tunnel kind of video recording and it's like they can just easily get out. Like it could be a concept like that. Or it could be where they're in a pretty risky situation and they just so happen to be filming it.
Dude, ever since I was a kid, the National Geographic people, they're like, I'd watch cave divers. And after every cave diving episode, they're like, yeah, these people died.
Oh,
this dude died. A lot of people died.
See.
These people are psychos. They're just fucking like, they're like
that seems like
free solo climbers, man.
Right. Honestly, super respectable if you think about it. The mental aptitude it takes to put yourself in those claustrophobic situations where you cannot panic.
Well, I mean, if it wasn't for explorers like them, you would get mapped underground systems and all these cool saber-toothed tiger skulls and all these like ancient things that they're finding in these caves. The nuclear missile silo was safe though, but here's the one thing: unlike any other like a open water dive where you go deeper, it gets colder. Not underground. It's the same temperature. So the only thing physiologically letting me know that I was going deeper was the pressure, because it was so fucking black. And I have an anti-shark flashlight from freediving for lobster because I'm scared of sharks.
What does that mean?
Anti-shark, so it's 1100 lumens, so it scares away all the fucking fish.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, sharks are very sensitive eyes.
Oh, so they run away from light?
Oh yeah, they don't like that shit. That would scare away any shark. It scares away all the damn fish.
Interesting.
It's so damn bright. I have anti-shark. Yeah, I'm a bitch. But either way, my anti-shark light, I'm holding it up and down. And the only time I knew I was at the bottom was when I was like, it was directly there at the blast doors. But looking up, I couldn't even see my fucking air bubbles.
Damn.
It was so damn dark. And what was strange about this dive is like, there was seaweed floating in the water, but it wasn't seaweed. It was asbestos.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
But obviously that doesn't necessarily affect you because you're breathing in.
Yeah, because it's wet. It's not cut. It's not, So that was the last dive I did and you know what? I still have dreams about that.
Interesting.
Because going into that nuclear missile silo, it was like going into a crazy portal to me. I still have dreams, but I need to do it again. I need to do the third one, the third silo.
Where's that?
Well, it's in the same complex.
Okay. I see you did the 2 silos in that area.
Yeah.
Got it.
Now, and if you ever go there is an entire command center too. And after we were done diving, we went down into the command center. And I'm not joking. The command center is the size of the Spokane Arena.
Oh.
Yeah, it's fucking huge. Like, it is massive. And there's this 1 foot separation between the wall or the main platform and the wall. There's this huge air vent you could drive a semi-truck through.
Damn.
It is huge. It's a hell of, like, if shit goes down, I know where I'm going. I'm going to the fucking command center in Royal City. You know? Like, there's a lot of pigeon shit and everything. And, like, you can The tunnels go so far that you can watch somebody with a light and the light just disappears and they're just going straight.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's really interesting, like these massive megalithic concrete structures that they just built, buried, and just left. Yeah. Someday someone's going to look back at our nuclear missile silos and be like, what the fuck is this shit?
Those are our pyramids.
Mm-hmm. Those are our pyramids, but underground.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a crazy stat about missile silos is a lot of them still run on floppy disk.
I believe it.
Did you know that? I mean, we're talking about, I think, like 6.5-inch size floppy disks, not even the modern smaller ones.
Mm-hmm.
But that way they're completely air gapped. So there's no way to remotely hack into them. They just all run on this thing that doesn't ever get upgraded, so there's no risk with software. It's like it's just completely, it's a, what's it called?
It's very proprietary.
It's a
all the
time
way to the
capsule
end.
of a computer that guarantees no funny business or hacking of any kind can get into it, but it is fundamentally isolated from technological progress. Like, dude, how at what point does that have to get updated?
Yeah, I know.
Or actually, maybe it becomes like the best strategy ever.
That's true. I think of that meme where it's like Kim Jong-un's holding up a floppy disk, like, we'll beat the U.S. with this technology.
Is that an actual meme?
Yeah.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah, that makes me think of that. Shit.
I mean, they got nukes. I'm not too worried about anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah, they got nukes. North Korea has nukes.
That's like legit. It's not no phone nuke.
Yeah, they got nukes.
Okay.
They got nukes, and they always threaten to nuke. But they know that shit would be suicide. They'd all fucking die. Because we got the whole, they've been threatening it for a long time.
It's interesting how Kim Jong-un has more civil liberties than the average American. He has free speech. He has right to bear arms. Mm-hmm. He has a right to a lot of different powers and freedoms that the quote-unquote average free person does not have. There's something wrong with that world, where a dictator has more freedoms than free people. Mm-hmm. Seems a little bit, backwards.
Yeah, freedom.
I mean, he doesn't actually have freedom. He's landlocked to however many millions acres North Korea is. So I think it's like 23 million acres. I was obsessed with North Korea for a little bit, but it's still a prison. When I say freedom, he's bounded by a lot of different things. He has to play dictator. He has to act like a dictator. He's in hell, I would say, effectively, being the tyrant of 20-something million people.
Yeah, he lives in hell. He's always worrying about people trying to kill him.
His sister,
all of his other family that have put this shit. It's like, okay, well, you live in the Middle Ages. You're going to fucking live that middle-aged life, man.
Right.
Where they're...
Eventually they come for the throne.
Yeah, they're coming for the throne.
Yeah, that not a fun life. I wouldn't want to trade places. But it is crazy that he has these base fundamental human freedoms that most free people do not have. It's like that's an interesting juxtaposition between his reality and our reality as Americans.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you could definitely make that argument. That wouldn't be a hard one.
He has a quote unquote assault weapons and assault helicopters and assault planes.
He's got missile parades and shit. I can't have a missile parade.
Have you ever watched any the North Korean documentaries?
Oh yeah, footage? Like you, I was a little bit obsessed with it. I'll listen to Joe Rogan when he had that North Korean lady on and she talked about that. It was fucking horrific. But yeah, that shit is horrific. I mean, America really is a Disneyland fantasy outside.
A small aside. Oftentimes, I hear people talk about the difficulties of entrepreneurship, and I always have these extreme examples in my head that I come back to. Okay. And so, the classic saying, "Comparison is the thief of joy." Yeah, I always look at it as comparison is the thief of problems. Mm-hmm. It's who do you compare yourself to? That's what it's going to steal. Yeah. If you compare yourself to people better than you, it's going to steal your joy. If it's going to compare to people worse than you, it's going to steal your problems. Mm-hmm. And there was this story of a gentleman who was a smuggler. He smuggled a lot of Western content into North Korea. So we're talking about pop culture, movies, music, books, radio.
They get killed for that shit.
Oh, yeah. So the death penalty for smuggling,
kill your whole fucking family.
that's right, is death penalty. And this gentleman got caught, didn't have anything on him at the time of capture. And he was imprisoned, I believe, for a few years. They tortured him. They thought he was a spy. Eventually, they let him go. They inflicted injuries that resulted in him being permanently disabled. Oh, shit. Sorry, I just spilled a drink.
Yeah, keep talking.
Okay.
Keep talking.
That's on me, man.
No. It's all good. I was going to grab another one anyway.
So they ended up releasing him, but permanently injured both of his knees to the point he's always walking with a painful limp in both legs.
Crippled his ass.
Yeah. And the next day from his release, this guy started smuggling content again.
Damn! That's a dedicated dude.
And it's like that symbolizes entrepreneurship more than any other behavior. And when they asked him why is he risking his life to smuggling, he says that the biggest thing that has actually created the most amount of cultural resistance has been exposing people to the Western world. They don't know it exists. A lot of people do not know that there is this concept of the West and there's a free reality outside of North Korea. And he said that by smuggling and risking his own life, he's inevitably increasing the resistance to the North Korean regime that inevitably could result in its collapse. And it's like, that to me is a very simple mission. There's not a lot of profit motive behind it. But that to me is like entrepreneurship encapsulated. And it's like, that is hard. It's like, how many founders would risk the death penalty to build their business?
Well, it brings back to an audiobook that I read and I put on my YouTube channel. It's The Man Nobody Knows.
Okay.
The story of Jesus, the greatest business entrepreneur that ever lived.
That's a catchy hook.
Yeah. The marketing genius of Jesus. So yeah, he didn't work for money. But there's a lot of parables about business. Like the man who's like, when Jesus talks about the parable of the men who all received money and they all returned the money and the guy didn't return more money.
Oh, you're talking about the three gifts where one buried them, one spent them, one invested them?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's part of it. And in the book really focuses more on like the marketing too, the marketing aspect. Like if you read and it goes into it, like how he throws out some shocking things. It's a good one. I should reread it, actually.
Okay.
It was such a good book that I read it as an audiobook because it was really short. The Man Nobody Knows.
Interesting.
By Bruce Barton. It was written in the 1920s.
Okay. And why is it the man that nobody knows? I feel like Jesus is a pretty popular character.
Oh, because I think... Well, I guess people didn't really know that Jesus was a business entrepreneur.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You know, like he created this organization based on influence solely. The only people who cared about money betrayed him. And yeah, it goes into really good detail too. So like, for example, when Jesus, the Sermon on the Mount, when Jesus was talking to the crowd of people, they were going to try to make him the king of Jerusalem or of Israel, and they were going to be a rebellion force. So it's 5,000 men, just men too. I mean, that didn't include the women and children, and he knew that if he was to rile them up, they'll just march on to Jerusalem, and they could take the garrison from the Romans, and that would cause another uprising. And so, and yeah, it's really good. It's just a good book, and it really makes you think about, business from Jesus's perspective. Like, what are you trying to make? You know, something that lasts. What is business for? It's about adding value. So,
right.
Yeah.
The communists should read that one.
Yeah, the communists should read that one. They should read that one. Yeah. So,
because I feel like a lot of times people think that when you get compensated for creating some kind of value in the world, that it's just like a zero-sum compensation. It came from somebody else's pocket. Versus like you added a net amount of value and you get a very small percentage of the value you created. That's where the compensation comes from. It comes from the increasing the size of the pie, and you get a small piece of the pie you created, versus it came from someone else's slice.
Yeah.
It's like Elon Musk is undercompensated relative to the value he's created.
Yeah. He's underemployed is what the Bureau of Labor and Statistics would call him. That's what they would call me, underemployed.
Underemployed.
Yeah. Not unemployed, but underemployed.
That's right.
So you're not living up to the full capital of your human potential.
But if you look at his overall compensation, like $250 billion sounds like a lot. The number that I kind of compare in my head is the amount of money that the federal government spends on interest payment every week, which is right around $20 billion. So in 3 months, just on interest payments alone, the government would wipe out what it took Elon 50 years to make. That is not a lot of money relative to the impact he's had.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like the government cannot launch astronauts to the United States, to the space station, ISS, without Elon.
No.
They would have to work with Putin.
Dude, Elon has been so disruptive that I sold off all my shares of stock in telecom companies. Because I used to like believe in like AT&T and Verizon and shit. I would just thought of them as infrastructure of our country. And then I started looking at their financial statements, and they're spending more money than they make just on maintaining cell phone towers.
Yikes.
So mark my words, Peter. One day, Elon Musk is going to put these cell phone companies out of business because of Starlink.
Oh, yeah.
And there's going to be a bunch of real estate with all these residual cell phone towers that are going to be massive liabilities.
Okay.
And there's going to need to be companies to fall and haul them away.
Interesting.
And there's going to be discount property prices for these cell phone towers.
I do feel like they're going to try to nationalize SpaceX.
God, I think not. I hope that Elon Musk stands for more than that. It feels like he's really just bullied NASA out of the fucking way.
I'm completely talking out of my domain here. But I almost wonder if government pulls some kind of pervasive eminent domain case if they tried to nationalize Starlink.
Dude, they try to nationalize everything. The last time they tried to nationalize the internet was the fuck was it called? It's 2016.
But specific
net neutrality.
Net neutrality, that's right.
Yeah,
was that a nationalization of internet broadband
total
services?
Fucking failure. It was never a possibility to begin with. It was just a big fucking farce to try.
That never got passed, right? Or did?
Whether it did or didn't,
Okay.
They can't regulate the internet in any way that they think they can. It's not like, oh, I get discount fucking service on my fucking internet bill. Like, it didn't help anybody.
It is interesting how the internet feels like you're committing less of a crime. You know, if you walked into Blockbuster and you like snuck a movie into your jacket and walked out, like, that is a very tangible crime. Yes. Even if you return the movie 3 days later, right? You temporarily stole it from their inventory. That feels wrong.
Yeah.
But watching a pirated movie online doesn't feel as wrong.
No, it feels
there's
like
something
the right thing to do.
Right, there's something
because you're saving money, damn it.
Well, because the tactile experience is no different than Googling something that is legit versus something that is quote unquote illegal. And I think that's where it's an interesting blurring of lines, where walking into a store and taking a movie from if you opened up a Redbox and got access to the movie and then closed it back up and then returned it later, like that feels criminal. Yeah. Watching a movie that's pirated doesn't feel criminal for some reason.
Because you got those layers of separation.
This is going to take like a team of brains to crack versus just one brain going at it. So that's the short-term challenges and opportunities. But in a kind of post-funding scenario, which I like to think about quite often of like, how am I going to allocate capital and get things moving? The product itself will manifest itself as a one-stop platform. Right now, I mentioned that we're a browser-based extension, but customers who get used to that end up getting tired of still having to go to multiple platforms just to get it working, just to get it on effectively. Dispatch Robot doesn't work in the background. It works on an active tab. So you have to have the tab open for Dispatch Robot to first start. And so the next step would be just to actually aggregate all of that workload into a single platform, so they no longer actually have to go to any of the individual platforms themselves. They have one aggregated view to start with. Anyone I talk to about that from our customer base and user base, that is an idea, that is a feature that they desperately want. There's a lot of technical reasons why that's a little bit more difficult to build. But that's like the next short step. From there, then really integrating with some sort of LLM to handle outbound email and inbound email. So that way trucking companies have this email assistant that can actually proactively find freight and reply for inquiry regarding freight. That's one of the biggest annoyances in trucking is even after you've picked up a shipment, you'll get daily email updates requests sent to you that are just annoying to answer throughout the day. Dispatch Robot should be able to actually alleviate some of these pain points. And then finally, the AI that I think would be the most impactful to build would be some sort of intelligent agent that can actually make outbound calls. They can be very specific in nature in terms of what problem they're focusing on. But a simple example would be a sort of a dispatch robot that calls companies' drivers and says, hey, I have this load opportunity. Here's where it picks up. Here's where it's going. Here are the dates. Are you interested? This is a call that a dispatcher will make throughout the day consistently. It's just pitching opportunities, whether it be through text or whether it be through phone call. It'd be nice for Dispatch Robot to also handle these kinds of requests because they're so frequent in nature that don't end up just distracting from the task at hand versus helping.
Yeah.
And so those are kind of the handful of directions that all go towards a bigger goal, which is to reduce manual minutes spent. Mm-hmm. You know, like every update, every feature should help increase that goal. And right now I don't track that goal. It's kind of difficult to track in nature, but if and when we're able to track this as a metric of manual time spent on a task, every feature needs to be going towards reducing that number.
Have you heard of the Ignite program?
Ignite, yes, a few people have mentioned it to me recently. That I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's the Angel Alliance here in the Northwest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned them. I ended up, so Alex is in Texas right now, mm-hmm. and he was talking with a local entrepreneur in that area who is originally from Spokane, Washington. And so he was like, hey, you should reach out to this guy that I know in Spokane. He ended up raising about $1 million in funding. And he, talked to him, see his background, what he built, and see if he can help you guys. And so I actually had coffee with him 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, mm-hmm. I should say now. And he's the one that also mentioned Ignite Northwest and some of the investors that he worked with from the Spokane Angel Alliance, mm-hmm. that helped him raise $1 million for his startup. Mm-hmm. That was a fintech play that ended up not working out right before COVID. But he had nothing but good words to speak about them, and I believe he's going to try to make an intro. Yeah, so we'll see.
You should sign up for that.
Yeah.
It's a cool thingy, so it's like a weekend, and you go.
Oh, you're talking about the specific pitch competition itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's investors there and stuff.
Right. Yeah, investment is something that I maybe. I don't know. This is a first-time thing for us, but I don't know if I should have prioritized it earlier or later. However, it's only been a priority in the last 2 months. So up to this point, I was thinking about just growing this organically. And then interacting with a few other entrepreneurs, it was just as great as that is, you're on a timeline and we're in an environment that moves so fast that if you try to take the organic route, you just might not have the opportunity at all. Given one of the competitors in the space, I think they just recently raised $26 million.
A competitor?
A competitor in the space. So what they're trying to do is also aggregate freight, but they're only working with the individual vendors. So they have a handful of vendors that they work with. So a very small subset of the freight is even aggregated in the first part, but it's all just manual. However, instead of going through 8 different vendors, which already posted these different marketplaces, they just kind of aggregate them into one list. But it's still manual in nature. And then they're tying that in with a fuel card program for trucking companies. So that's kind of one of the ways they're going to make money, is to create a discount network throughout the country for fuel cards. So they're doing kind of what a ton of companies are doing for fuel cards, but they're not focused on automating the transaction. I think fundamentally, despite kind of the stages that we're going through to deliver our product, the goal is remembering the problem, which is what box goes on which truck. Mm-hmm. Looking at that through the lens of fundamental automation makes you create different solutions for the same problems. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where we fundamentally differ. But given the fact that they raised $26 million, that is a lot of financial resources to be able to execute on some version of that vision. Mm-hmm. Whether they're starting with vendors, whether they're going to grow to offer full aggregation and then additional automation, who knows? But the fact is that they have the resources to back them. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of been a forcing function, if you will, for us to go all right, well, if we really want to make some meaningful inroads, given that the space is heating up, we might need to look at raising funds to help us accelerate this timeline. And that's kind of been the big focus of raising money and why to raise money. But it's my first time going at it, so I'm still learning. And there's a lot of new stuff in terms of investor requirements and due diligence that I'm working through. But I'm hopeful that this is going to be a footnote in the progress and timeline of the product.
Yeah. So if I was you, and how would I do it? If I got up in front of a group of investors, mm-hmm. and I pitched everything Toe Piglet had to say.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just going because I think that's cute.
Yeah.
And they might like the backstory, with the brothers.
Sure.
Cute. Oh. And then I'd say, and then they're gonna be like, "How much money you want, Peter?" And then what are you gonna ask for?
$2 million right now.
$2 million. All right. And I'm gonna say, "I want $2 million." And they're gonna say, "What are you gonna do with it?"
Spend it. But yeah, I hire product and engineering. Those are the two main expenditures.
I'd tell them this. I'd hold out that silver coin and I'd say, "Look at this. You see this silver coin? Made in 1984.
This one was?
Oh, yeah. Look at it. 1984. 0.99999 ounce pure silver.
The year of the Macintosh.
Now, if you were to be alive back then, and you were to buy 1 share of stock in Apple, and hold that coin in your hand, and 1 share of stock in Apple in the other, the 1 share of stock is going to be worth almost $70,000 fucking dollars, given all the splits and dividends. And 1 coin is going to be worth the spot price of silver that day. But if you give me $2 million, I'm going to take $1 million and I'm going to put it into Apple stock. And that's going to get double your money back within 5 years. Then I'm going to take the other $1 million and I'm going to diversify it between McDonald's, PepsiCo, and Procter & Gamble, Walmart, Hershey's, Pepsi, and Costco, and a bunch of good dividend aristocrats. And I'm going to run my company based off the net flow of future dividends, because $90,000 a year in dividends is tax-free. Now, I'm going to pay you off with that first $1 million I'm going to put into Apple stock. All right? That's going to be paid off within 5 years, it's gone up 70% year over year. I'll pay you off pretty quick with just that $1 million in Apple stock. But with the rest of the money, I'm going to take the dividends, and I'll make you small payments towards your getting your money back as an investment. And these dividends are tax-free. Because $90,000 a year in dividends is tax-free. No other company that you have ever, no other small startup that you've ever invested in has ever offered you a compensation for risk. I offer you a compensation for risk. Every time you drive down the road and you see that McDonald's Golden Arches, you should smile. You should think about how Dispatch Robot, your money is there. I could take this company, I could crash it into the ground 1,000,000 times. It doesn't matter. You're still going to get growth because it's tied up in companies that are good, that produce a product or service that you use. Companies that have been around before you, that'll be around long after you're gone. Companies that, when I look at the 5-year and their max, go up at a 45. But most importantly, companies that pay a dividend, because a dividend is a tax-free compensation for risk. And you pass that coin out. You say, feel it in one hand. What could it be in one hand? What could it be as a stock in the other? But with those dividends, not only will you possibly get a lot of growth just based off of good companies, you are going to you're going to own the market in trucking. You're going to own this corner because nobody else is doing what I'm doing. Nobody else knows what I know. You just learned today, Mr. Investor, that $90,000 a year in dividends is tax-free. Some of them might not know that.
Did you purposely select 1984 for this coin?
1984.
Because of the Mac?
Because of the Mac.
Nice. What is silver worth right now? What is the spot market?
Spot price, whatever it is, probably around $28 bucks.
That's a spot price of silver?
Spot price of silver.
You
always pay double what it is, but I mean the spot price is.
Why do you pay double?
Because you're gonna, if you're gonna buy silver today, like down at a coin shop, you're gonna pay cheap as $38 bucks.
Okay.
It's the cheapest because there's always a markup. Everybody's got to make their money on top of spot price. But if you were to take that to a pawn shop or gold, you fucking demand spot price.
Are they trying to usually get it under spot?
If they do, they're fucking criminals. You say you demand spot. You demand spot price. They'll give me a fucking spot.
Can't you just go back to the stores that sell the
coins?
coins?
In the coin dealers will give you spot.
Okay.
I mean, and here's the thing, man. You want to buy gold and silver at spot? Check out the Post Falls, Idaho gun show.
Really?
Dude, they should call it Precious Metal Show.
Interesting.
Dude, I'm going.
That's where you get your arbitrage from, huh?
That's where it's a good place to go because there's people there that are selling gold and silver at spot price. So you got to think like, why are they selling it at spot? So I've talked about this with some people. My first intuition is like, okay, this is a gun show. Maybe there's some criminal activity because criminals.
Sure.
Criminals if you buy a gold coin at a coin dealer, they're going to register you.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Is that required by the government?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So the government knows how much precious assets under management are there?
Gold specifically. Maybe platinum. I don't know. Because platinum's around half the price of gold.
I did not know that.
So gold's run around $2,200.
And that's if they ever need to get the precious metals, they know where to go? What's the reasoning for that?
Well, they like to try to control criminals, to control like the flow of money.
Criminals are dealing in gold?
Dude, fuck yeah. It's better than Bitcoin.
Oh, wow.
Gold is huge. Like you go to these gun shows, you see all the gold. I'm speculating here. But,
okay, yeah.
But they're selling it at spot. Some are. And at least for silver, for sure, because they have either too much of it or they're dealing in an industry where they can't take cash and they need cash.
Okay.
And they're like, yeah, I need cash. And usually their cover is, I'm an old guy who I got saved up all this shit, bought it at a discount price, I need to sell it off.
So they're using old guys as the front to do this?
Sometimes.
Or is this all speculation still?
It's all speculation. Okay. Like whatever I think, obviously 100 other people have thought it statistically, and I'm pretty sure it's being monitored by the feds in some level. Okay. So but still, gold and silver is untraceable. at the gun show for sure. Gold is untraceable because they don't register your gold purchases. It's like they don't register fucking gun sales.
Some states do.
Some states do. At the gun show. At the gun
Oh,
show.
the gun show.
It's that loophole.
It's not even a loophole, but yeah.
But yeah.
You know, that is a funny thing that people get wrong all the time. And that is, there's no loophole in the sense that vendors still require background checks and private parties still don't in most states. And so it's like, it just so happens to be that there is a collection of vendors and private party sales at a gun show. If you buy from a gun show from a vendor, excuse me, you will still do a background check. If it's just an FFL that sets up shop at a gun show, you still have to go through the same background check process. If it's an individual private party, then it's just a private party transfer. That's where the law is different. And so, quote unquote, gun show loophole is basically just saying that private party transfers are treated differently than buying from a business. And they basically want it to be that every vendor is a business, right? That's the quote unquote loophole, is to make every individual a business. Therefore, they have stricter regulations apply to them, and then they prevent them from actually dealing in the first place.
Yeah. There's a lot of industries they try to take over, things you don't even realize.
Right. But that's so interesting. I did not know that about gold. That the government requires a list of people who have gold under assets.
Yeah, go to a coin shop and try to buy a gold coin. They're going to register you. That.
So these pop-up shops are the only way to buy gold without being on some sort of list? Do you have to?
Or a gun show.
Is there regulation in the book that you have to self-report gold? No. Okay.
And in fact, if anybody ever in Washington State, and this happened too, the last time I tried to buy it, because even the employees don't know.
Okay.
There is no tax on precious metals when you go to buy them in Washington
No
State.
sales tax.
There is no sales tax. So if somebody tries to tell you that, like, oh, you need to pay tax, but like, no. There's no tax. The price is that, I'm paying that.
Why do they have an exemption?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's just the way Washington State is. There's no sales tax.
So you have to consistently remind people. Otherwise, you're paying a premium. Huh.
Yeah.
You know, I saw a thing that's did a dissection of the precious metals that advertise on podcast networks. And they primarily target elderly people and say, hey, precious metals as an investment. And their markup is sometimes 300% off the spot. Scammers.
Yeah.
Absolute scammers, not telling people the truth. And there was a guy that worked there and released a bunch of private documents exposing the nature of the business. It's like, who wouldn't do a simple Google search and say spot market of X before buying over the phone or over the internet? Like, that seems to me the hardest business to be shady in. The one where your price is instantly validated in real time by a simple Google search. No idea how they're doing it.
Oh, they're just calling them on the landline and running cons. I had my grandma, before she died, paid like $2,800 fucking dollars to allegedly the Republican Party.
Seriously?
Yeah. Like, what the fuck? Because they'll call them up. They'll try to like, hey, we're with the
I'm assuming
Republican
that's
Party.
a international scam, right?
There's all sorts of scams.
There's no way
sure.
those people are headquartered in the United States. I feel like that's a good way to go to prison for a long time.
Yeah, I hope they get caught. Yeah, there's a lot.
How
of
she got scammed? She gave her debit card information over the phone.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. They do that to the old people all the time, and old people are, they like gold and silver and shit. But the thing is, like, even if like let's say you owned a share of McDonald's stock, right? And you held it in one hand, in the gold or the silver coin, or even a gold coin in the other. What's going to happen is, over time, the McDonald's stock is going to go up in price, but you're still going to get dollar bills. Like, every 3 months, you're going to get $6 in your hand. So over time, this hand's going to fill up with cash, and that hand's just going to be stuck with a gold or silver coin.
So you don't believe then in precious metals as an investment, or do you?
As like safety shit, like gotta run money. I think the concept of money is really interesting because it's just a measure of human energy. So the question is, why is the metals precious? What makes silver precious is because it's sterilizing. Sailors that used to go across the ocean back in the day would have barrels of water, and they would throw a silver coin in it, and it would sterilize the water. So, like, thus the term the wishing well. People would throw their silver coins into it, and like, I wish this shit won't get me sick. And they toss it in, and they're like, hey, we don't get sick when we toss the silver in the well. So, like, yeah.
They thought it was the power of mindset. Turns out it was the power of silver.
Oh, yeah. Silver is a precious metal. Like, you'll feel good holding it. Like, if you take it out of the case and you touch it to your skin, you hold it.
Is that true? That's not some...
Dude, you hold it, you're like, motherfucking men kill each other for this shit, dude. Like, men kill each other for this shit. Like, it feels good. It has it radiates a specific frequency, like a lot of things do.
It is interesting. Why do they spend time on imprinting this with a heads and tails design versus just a basic flat coin?
I'm not sure.
Wouldn't it be cheaper to produce silver that didn't have any of the embossing or through the press? I'm not sure how these are made.
They're just pressed with a stamp. So it's pretty easy just to make.
I guess people could file off silver, right? But this is still weighed, right? It goes by weight, not net weight.
And they used to file off silver back in the day.
Right, that's why they have the grooves. Before they had scales, right? Yeah. This is a good way to detect fraud. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so interesting how such a simple thing, if you gave it to like a child, that it encapsulates like hundreds of years of human history, fraud, abuse, friction, stress, struggles. And like this one little simple technology of grooves.
And 33 of them, you would betray the Son of God.
Oh, you're talking about Judas? Mm-hmm. Was that 33 silver coins?
33. Or whatever it was.
Interesting.
30 to 33, one of those.
Well, I don't know if this is an actual gift or this is just a podcast gift.
No, that's for you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Silver is the most reflective element in the known universe. So they used to be used for mirrors, so they would. And in fact,
more reflective than an actual mirror, like a glass mirror?
It is a mirror. It literally is a mirror. Every mirror in your home is pewtered with silver.
No way.
Yeah,
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, silver is not quite as rare as people think it is. That's why it's still like a lower price point compared to gold. One of the reasons why it is a lower price point compared to gold is because gold has ductility. So it's able to pull and stretch like 3 times longer than silver can.
Okay.
So that's why it's used for nanotechnology.
I see.
Mm-hmm. You have to have gold in order to get those in. But yeah, it's a lot of it's really interesting the more you learn about that sort of stuff and precious metals and what it took to. How we used to value a dollar and whatnot.
It is interesting to go back into time and ask yourself, how did someone know something was rare? Because it's not like they mined the world and then did a sum of all the different raw materials and goes, all right, this is the one that's rare. It's just more like they never encountered it before, but they're assuming that they won't encounter it again. Mm-hmm. And that's where they get rarity from. Like, how did you know that gold was rare 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago? Mm-hmm. Is it just because maybe it was rare in the local area? Probably would be the simplest answer. Mm-hmm. If it's rare in your local vicinity, then it feels rare to you. Like every tribe is going to value something differently. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. What is rare is going to have more demand.
Right.
If it has something good, to it. But be sure not to keep the silver out and exposed to too much air because okay, I've had silver coins. I've had them in front of the sun shit, and they'll all so you have to polish them every year.
Oh, okay.
So that's why most people keep the silver in the plastic. I mean, I take them out and play with them all the time. Huh. But but just FYI, if you were to hold that out, it'll get corroded, and then you got to polish the silver.
I see. Okay.
So that's why silverware. People used to use silverware. That's why the rich elite people in Europe used to have blue tongues because they're always drinking from silver gauntlets. They're called blue bloods. Yeah.
I'm sure that was a status symbol at one point.
Yeah, it was a status symbol because I mean, they weren't getting sick like the rest of the impoverished people.
Sure.
They were having mirrors to hold up and look at their face, which you needed silver just to have a mirror. Even back in the Greek times, like that was required, or you had to go in front of a damn pond and look at yourself.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, it is fascinating to think about how something as simple as a mirror that nobody even thinks about having or owning was at one point a status symbol.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's just like the sliding window of status symbols, and how much it's changed over the course of history, and it's just like it's always going to change. People are going to look at status symbols of today 100 years from now or 1,000 years from now and go like, what a bunch of idiots.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you know what's strange is you think about like an iPhone, right? Like my iPhone now has as much gold in it as an iPhone 16 or whatever the fuck they got now. So like holding an iPhone, you're holding gold, you know, small amounts of it.
Right.
But gold nonetheless. Yeah. So, so talk about other things that you got going on.
Dispatch robot is really like my full focus on everything. The other thing that I spend my time on is being a dad.
Yeah.
So I have
yeah.
When I started Dispatch robot full time at the beginning of 2023 January, my daughter was 2 months old. So went head in on the startup while being full energy of a new life. I don't want to get too cliche on like the whole dad experience. It is fascinating to look at the kid from the lens of neural networks and just how many emergent properties human beings develop in such a short time.
Oh yeah.
It's your dad, obviously.
I got three of they're all punk ass teenagers.
Okay.
Too cool for their dad. To
Seriously.
call every day. But no, they know I love them. Anyway.
But it's just like going from 0 to 1. Not a lot happens, and then like 1 year old happens, and things just start firing off. The most recent thing that my daughter's been doing is finally getting around the ability to say "papa."
Oh, okay.
That was new.
Gotcha.
For the longest time. It was "ma." She couldn't say "pa."
And so you have her call you Papa?
Yeah. Well, she.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that like a
Papa, or yeah, it's like Dada. Or,
yeah.
That's in Russian, Papa.
Yeah. I get you. That's like I understand that concept.
And the other alternative would be to call me Peter, which I don't.
That's weird.
Yeah, I feel like that's an American thing sometimes, where it's normal for American kids to call their parent by the first name.
And it's like, Peter, I'm gonna shoot up my school today.
In my upbringing, that's an easy slapping.
Yeah.
I know spanking isn't a common thing nowadays, but back when we were growing up, spanking was the right way to raise a kid. I don't know if that's the right way or not. I think the cultural time changes a lot. Like the way my parents were raised, and given the scenarios that my grandparents were in, I can understand the rationale for spanking. I no longer understand the rationale for spanking in a modern environment. So I'll give you a simple example. My mom is the oldest out of 8.
Yeah.
So we're talking about my grandma having to raise 8 kids by herself. Husband's at work from morning to night. And culturally, husbands or dads during that time definitely were not caregivers of any sort. It's more like you have 8 kids, and then you have to take care of a 9th adult. So you're taking care of everyone all of the time, 24/7. We can imagine how stressful it is, where not only are you taking care of 8 kids growing up, you also have to go farm every day. Otherwise, you're going to starve in the winter. So you're all day, every day, working to the bone while raising 8 kids. Insane. And so the parenting solution to raising 8 kids is not necessarily to be a present parent. It's to be a parent who establishes law. And the law is X, Y, and Z. And when you break the law, you get spanked. And it's like the gangster move, right? You take the toughest out of the 8 and you spank them, make an example out of them, so that way the 7 fall in line. And that's how you can effectively raise 8 kids while also having to go farm every single day prepare 3 meals a day every single day, and take care of your husband. Very difficult environment. Oh, and you're poor, right? Oh, and like laundry is all manual. There's no laundry. Mm-hmm. You're washing clothes manually. There's no diapers. Like, as you bubble up the complexity and the difficulty, spanking as a tool of parenting makes so much sense in that context.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I don't have time to deal with this. If I don't cut the veggies, if I don't prepare the food, we won't be able to eat. So I don't have time to lollygag and micromanage and, plead with your feelings. I'm going to hit you once. Don't bother me again. However, right, the times have changed. Parents have a lot more time to spend with their kids. The environment's a little bit easier. So I don't think that, kind of that law-based approach of parenting is necessarily the best fit for its environment. So I think it's a mistake to apply current parenting standards to previous times, mm-hmm. and vice versa, applying previous parenting styles to current times.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so incredibly fascinating to see a kid just like get things. It's just like what happened in the brain that connection finally made. And it's literally binary. Like, they don't know how to walk, and then one day they learn how to walk. Yeah. They don't know how to say a word, and then one day they just start saying it. Mm-hmm. It's got this electrical kind of reality to it where it's like it's off, and then one day it's on, and it never goes back to off.
Has your kid took off their diaper and rubbed shit on the wall?
No.
That's always
is that a common thing?
Fuck yeah! Oh, you haven't been blessed yet. Then you have not been blessed.
How
with
old?
Finger painting art.
How old?
Oh, old enough. Usually they're toddling. Usually they understand how to take off their diaper.
Like 1, 2?
Yeah, and then they're taking off their diaper and rubbing shit on the wall. Just don't be surprised.
Okay.
Yeah, it happens.
Noted.
Yeah, they'll fucking finger paint like cave. It's like, what the fuck? They're nasty.
So you have 3 that are all teenagers now?
Yep, they're all teenagers. Youngest is 15, oldest is 18. He's a senior.
Wait, oldest is 18?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
So you're a young parent.
I had him young.
Wow.
Yeah, free medical in the military, so knock him out early.
Is that a military incentive to have kids early and young? Do they incentivize that in any way?
Yeah, they incentivize that quite a bit by making your life in the barracks hell. And if you want to escape this hell in the barracks, your best option is to get married. But when you get married, then you're in the fucking system. Then you're in the fucking cult for sure.
They know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, married men.
So you can't leave base unless you're a married man, or the barracks. You can't leave unless you're a married man.
No. Yes, true. You cannot move out of the barracks.
Oh, I see.
Unless you're a married man. Other than that, you must live in the barracks.
So if you want a home, somewhere close to base or whatnot, mm-hmm. that's funded by the military, you get married. That's the trick?
Yes.
Do you own the home? Or is that just like your rent?
No, it's just you get base and housing allowance. So you get a housing allowance. And once you're married, it's up to you. You could either choose to live on base, and that's a whole nother fucking circus, or you can go move out in town.
But there's no way to live off-site unless you're married.
If you are of the higher rank. If you're like a staff sergeant, but all the way up from like a 19-year-old to like a 28-year-old, he's going to be living in a fucking barracks room unless they get married. So there's always
so interesting.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, well, we can be gay now. So let's get married, move out of the barracks. But no one's doing that. No one's got the balls.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's how they keep you in. And so then you have a kid, and then you.
Are there any incentives to have kids?
Oh yeah.
What are some of those?
Oh, well, you get more money.
Okay.
It's not like you get more money per kid. Like more kids equals more money, but like you'll have a little bit more money, and then you get. And of course, your kids have free medical, and like because kids always get sick, and you're always going to the hospital. And it's great because you don't have to worry about it and whatnot. And so there's a lot, like you are definitely reduced in income. Like you're not making a lot of fucking money. Like all your money is strapped, and you probably have like $250 left at the end of the month for play.
Does the military pay just enough so you don't have to consciously think about money, but keep you broke in a way that it's just like it's always just enough, but never more than that?
Yeah, it's always just enough because they're like, oh, look at all these medical bills you could have paid, but now you're not paying them.
They remind you of that.
Yeah.
It's like an abuser that reminds you.
Yeah, it is an abusive relationship. It is an abuser. It's a government abuser, an overseer that puts a bunch of people together to be trauma bonded to continue to.
That's how you develop lifelong relationships, right?
Yeah.
We went through hard shit together.
Yep.
We both hated it.
Yep.
And we came out of it.
Yep. Be trauma bonded and suffer.
Is that the literal wording, or is that more of a your take on it? Trauma bonding.
I think that's whatever they some people call it an inoculation to violence.
Okay,
is the correct term. I
see.
so yeah, trauma bonding is just a faster way to call it.
Got it. Okay.
So that once you're in, once you get married, then you're like going down the sales funnel of like being a fucking lifer, and that's what they want. The more you got your life, your kids reliant on this safety net of government money and lifestyle and and all the Christmas parties that you have to go to and all the shit and this whole cult
and public praise too that comes along with that, right?
Yeah, there is definitely some of that.
I don't know if anyone gets off on that, but
some people do. What I learned quick, especially in Southern California as a young Marine, being around the cities of Oceanside and San Diego, is like, just shut the fuck up. Just try not to talk about it, because there's a lot of like predators.
What do you mean?
Like sales predators trying to get you to fucking buy shit.
Because you're in the military?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Why the military is a target?
Because they especially
car dealers,
especially paid car dealers, payday lenders, all those people that we advise people not to go to.
Definitely not payday lenders, Jesus.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, you're just a continuous revolving paycheck.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you can't get fired. Like I can't. I've been trying. So, yeah,
they just make you do more and more worse work, right, before firing you.
Yeah,
like
well,
if you get really penalized, you just do shit jobs. Is that
what's nuts is if you work really, really hard, you just get rewarded with more work. That's it.
More responsibility or more work?
No, just work.
Uh-huh.
It may be responsibility, but then again, it's like you're working your ass off and you see some other dude who's who doesn't do shit and they get promoted. It's like, what the fuck? It's this thing called the Peterson principle.
Okay.
So that's the way the entire government runs. When you promote people to their highest level of incompetence, what happens is they get promoted there and they left there, and everybody else has to work harder just to make up for their incompetence. Peterson principle, something like that. Yeah.
That's in some ways genius.
In a lot of ways, yeah. And I think about this too. Like, dude, there's so many high-functioning mental retards out there that, like, you could be like, dude, this dude's, like, high-functioning. Like, he can do stuff, but we need him to fill this role.
I wonder if AI is going to look at all of humanity like that one day. Like an post-AGI reality just looks at all humans as high-functioning retards.
I wouldn't be surprised. Shit.
They're all so slow, you know. Mm-hmm. The highest IQ is like 220. Yikes! It's like, how are stupid people able to do anything?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah. Hold on. You're training and testing into SVM, support vector machine, and it can predict like multivariables too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I was so we did a hackathon.
Mm-hmm.
On Friday.
Good times.
And I was trying to fine-tune GPT 3.5 for freight data, just to see if this would theoretically work. And during the hackathon, by the end of it, GPT was still validating files. So OpenAI, it was literally 5 hours into it. It was still validating files, and I was like, what the hell is going on? I restarted the job, and I passed in a validation set, because I thought maybe because I only had a training set and not a validation set, that's why I was stuck in a loop. Processed that, and like 10 hours later, after the hackathon already ended, I woke up in the morning and I got an email from OpenAI saying, your fine-tuning job failed. Look at the UI for details. And the reason it failed was I had exceeded my usage limit. And I didn't do the math, but I had a $120 monthly limit for my OpenAI API account. And to fine tune on my training set, it was 53.5 million tokens, which would cost about $426 to fine tune. And I was like, yeah, this is probably not the right solution for a first test. So I'm at kind of a decision where just make the training set dramatically smaller. So I'm going to try that. The other one that I'm looking at is fine tuning like a mixture of experts model. And seeing if I get a Mixtral of experts.
A Mixtral of experts?
Yeah.
What's this?
Mistral developed this language model where they're basically...
Mistral.
Yeah, Mistral. But
I thought you said mixture of experts.
Yeah, but they call it mixture or Mixtral of experts.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so MOE is the short term for that.
Yeah, that's what everybody kept talking about on Friday. I need to Google that.
So they basically have this architecture where they have a decision maker model that decides which model to use, and they can actually when you give them a prompt, the tokenization process can actually split off the tokens to different experts. So if you have one sentence and some of that sentence contains code and some of it contains something else, it can take the corresponding tokens to each expert and then give it to that specific network and then combine them back. It's a really fascinating model in architecture. That I only briefly started looking into their documentation as to how to fine tune it. But that's what I'm going to do next to see, in addition to neural networks and decision trees, try that out and see if I get any good feedback specifically on that architecture and that model. However, the formatting of the JSON-L strings is completely different to Mistral than it is to OpenAI. So I have to redo that code and reformat it in a different way that's unique to them. But the pricing is actually insane. So per 1 million tokens, it's 90 cents.
That's really good.
I have 53 million, so that'd be per million. That's like 53x. So you're looking at like 40 something bucks, 10x cheaper than GPT 3.5. And this is through an actual AI software product called Together.ai that Josh actually mentioned in the hackathon. So I'm giving them a shot, and I was like, okay, 40 something bucks compared to 427 bucks starts to be a lot more reasonable given the same exact data set size. So ChatGPT seems kind of expensive in that respect. We're talking about a 3.5 model, not even 4 for fine tuning versus Mistral's state-of-the-art architecture. So that's a fun little puzzle that I'm working on here in the next couple days.
I'm going to have to start diving into Mistral and start learning about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't until Friday that crossed by my radar. So, and that's what's cool is it's just like going and hearing the new things.
Right.
I would have never, ever known because there's so much to know. And I'm only limited to my little view of the world.
Is it ever depressing to realize just how much there's to know that you'll never know even a sliver of it?
Well, ignorance is bliss. I think
Dude.
of that.
I've thought about that as like the dumbest people in the world sometimes have the best lives. It's just, the life of a dog, right? Absolute bliss, right? No complexity in the world. Your owner comes home. It's like happy as a clam. Greatest life ever. Once you start getting to the knowledge base of humanity, then all of a sudden things start to get more grim. Yeah. All of a sudden, politics affects your daily life, even though it shouldn't really affect your daily life.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, yeah, being dumb is definitely a hack to happiness. It's like, you want to be happy, be dumb.
I mean, I think about it like I was born a baby shitting myself. Chances are I don't want to be the old man shitting myself out till I die.
Right.
But one day I'm going to be so old and out of touch with reality, I'm going to be just as dumb and useless as anybody else.
Do you think...
The only thing is I might have more money, hopefully.
Right. That McDonald's stock better be doing good.
Yeah.
That Apple stock better be doing good.
Yeah.
Do you think aging is a problem that's going to be solved in our lifetimes? In a way that the average age all of a sudden start to go lean toward like 150 or 200?
Dude, I asked people this. I asked them, I was like, do you want to live to 100? Well, do you? Yeah,
I want to live as long as I'm healthy.
yeah. I mean, as long as you have a good quality life.
Right.
I mean, I think there gets to be a point, like, past your 60s where you start worrying about, like, having heart attacks and shit. And then once you're in your 80s and you're just...
Dementia's a motherfucker, fucker.
I would like to see that curve, that bell-shaped curve of human lifetime increase. And I think it slowly is, like the average life expectancy is increased. And maybe there'll be a day, because I look at like some 40-year-olds, like some 50-year-olds now, and they're like, fuck, you look great.
How old are you?
I'm 39.
39. Dude,
yeah.
You look like you're in your 20s. Thank you. Yeah. Between the two extremes, if you had to pick, which direction would you choose? You're alive for 30 years, from the day you're born till the day you die, 30 years total. So you die at 30. But you have the greatest quality of life. Or you live till 90, but it's a life of pain.
Oh, I'll take the life of 30. As long as I leave a lasting legacy. Well, maybe, I don't know. And maybe if I was like 30, I'd be more like a dog. That 30-year life and like happier. But yeah, I do think like quality of life. At what point is quality of life going to be a good thing for you?
You mentioned lasting legacy, and on the good life side.
Yeah.
It's interesting how some of the most profound benefits to humanity came from people who suffered their entire life. Some of the biggest blessings we have are from people who suffered. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, if you were to ask any individual, no individual would ever volunteer to suffer. But yet that's been some of the greatest literary works of humanity from people who've suffered. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, in that weird game, concept of life, if everyone got to choose to live the best life, humanity may have been worse off.
Oh, dude, for sure. I see it when I just dealing with civilians, man. Like, there's a lot of civilians, and it was like a big culture shock for me when I got out.
This is post-military.
Yeah, post-military. Okay. Just getting out and dealing with affluenza. There's a lot of Americans that have affluenza.
What is affluenza?
Affluenza is where you have forgotten the fact that that your family came from, that your parents were one of 8, and they used to require a lot of fucking spanking, and they lived in the field.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, got it.
Okay. To you're put a point where like, oh, my fucking this soy latte shit isn't fucking good.
I see. Yeah.
Like when
spoiled.
Yeah, I mean, shit. I see it with a lot of Americans.
Okay.
Too. A lot of Americans suffer from affluenza, whether it's I see obesity as affluenza. I see
obesity to me kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. Do you ever eat fast food?
That's a sin.
You never eat fast food?
No, I don't do my product. Do not do the product.
Don't get high off your own supply.
No.
So never. When's the last time you had fast food?
Only when my family forces me.
Okay,
to go
what about like high quality fast food, like Five Guys?
Chipotle.
Okay, so Chipotle still is fast food, but you don't count that as fast food.
I do count that as fast food, and I will eat Chipotle maybe twice a year.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, dude, I do not. All the money. See, I have a different mindset. So all the money I would have spent on fast food,
you just invest
buy stock in it.
Got it. So instead of buying a $10 Big Mac, you put $10 of stock market investing into McDonald's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or buy $10 worth of stock.
Yeah, and it would take you about 30 Big Macs to get one share of McDonald's stock now.
Okay.
At $10 a Big Mac.
Yeah, it's expensive. Fast food is not cheap.
Yeah, it's not cheap. And the thing is, McDonald's, Domino's, they're technology companies.
Right. And real estate companies.
And real estate companies.
Right. They're like the WeWork. They're actually WeWork, except they don't have a co-working space. Mm-hmm. Because WeWork wanted to be tech and real estate, and they definitely weren't real estate. They were just subleasing. It's not like they owned the buildings. So no fast food. There's Paul Murwecki, who's the co-founder and CEO of Oculus, and then now started a defense company. He talked about how solving obesity has to take the form of anything. Anyone can eat anything they want for however many calories they want, but their net effect should be positive. So it's like you can eat any food and you can eat as much of it as you want and it should still be healthy. He's like, that's how you solve obesity. And that is a pretty interesting perspective. When I first heard it, I was like, that's ridiculous. Like, people need to know self-control, right? Like, but we have these really ancient minds that we've inherited that we've evolved way quicker than the brain has been able to adapt to evolving. Like, the environment has changed much faster than we have agents of the environment have changed. And so we have this like really old hardware that is being hijacked by corporations offering fat and sugar 24/7.
In MSG.
Yep. Yeah.
I love MSG, dude.
Do you know the history of MSG?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, I have it. I replaced my salt with
Umami.
umami
Yes,
flavor.
That's right.
Have you heard of Uncle Roger?
No?
Oh shit, he's a comedian he's also a data scientist.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's a comedian. He wears an orange shirt, and all he does is make fun of white people who fuck up Asian food.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's like hella funny comedian.
Okay, I'll have to check him out.
Yeah, man, Uncle Roger. Yeah, but you're right. They've put the highest of like all the science. Like, how can we make this food as legally addicting as possible? To where...
Arguably more addicting than some drugs.
Yeah. And you brought up a good point that I thought of, which is sitting is the new smoking. Well, I didn't think of this, but other people have told me that sitting is the new smoking. A lot of people are just sitting on their fucking asses.
I noticed that with my own kid. You go from house to car seat to sitting in a store cart to then going back to sitting in the car seat.
Oh, that's a good point.
Kids don't even move at all. And so I try to, when possible, try to be conscious of walking with the kid through a store versus wheeling them around in a cart or a stroller. Because otherwise they go sitting all the time from car. Like, being car dependent too is another problem, right? Just increases sitting. We walk a lot less than we should. But it is, you have to proactively fight your environment just to maintain health. Yeah. It's I guess zooming out just hit me. It's like we used to have to fight to find calories. Now we have to fight to avoid them.
Yeah.
But it's like the lesson here is you're going to have to fight to be successful in your environment. So maybe it's no different of a problem than before. It's just now it's a lot easier not to fight versus before. If you didn't fight, you die off. Now, if you don't fight, you become fat. You become a welfare person.
Yep. Yeah.
The incentive is broken.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I've heard this thing, like, people at one point, people tried saying that, oh, only poor people are obese. I'm like, imagine that. A country where we're so fucking wealthy, even the poorest people get fat to death.
Right.
Like, holy shit, dude. And that, well, I don't think it's a poor problem. I think it's an American problem. I see all the people from all sorts of classes, and I'm like, you're all fucking fat.
But this is a new phenomenon.
Yeah, it is.
This is like a post-World War II reality.
It's the true pandemic. I
was going to say stupidity is the pandemic, but have you noticed the average experience at retail is dramatically worse than it was maybe even 5 to 10 years ago? This is purely like a personal subjective experience, but I feel like the quality of retail has fallen off a cliff. It's like if you go to Lowe's, and you ask somebody where something is in the store, nobody knows anything. They pull it up on a phone. They pull up their app and they do. It's like, I could have done that. It's like, I wanted a faster answer, not a slower answer. It's like, you work here all day long. You do not know your section. If you ask somebody for help, I had this happen to us. We were remodeling our place, just painting, and I had to go to Lowe's a couple times over the course of a weekend. And I kid you not, every single time I go in there, I'm like, this is the worst product experience, shopping experience ever. Every time I ask, the answer is I don't know, and never I don't know, and I'm going to help. And it's like, I go to an aisle and it's like, hey, are you an expert in this aisle? No, that's somebody else. Could you go find that person? I don't know where they are. Like, zero agency. There's no element of, hey, let me help you with that in a way that I thought was normal maybe 10 years ago. Like, people who actually knew the store, knew their aisles. Seems like once with the introduction of, anyone can search anything at any time, to the employees, there's no incentive to actually memorize where the stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'll just check when someone asks me. There was another situation with cashing out, hey, can you help us? Oh, I'm not the cashier person standing right by the automated checkout. Okay, can you go find it? Can you go find the cashier? It's just like there's no incentive. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I'm even explaining it correctly, but it seems like our culture has gotten dumber.
Lazier.
But specifically dumber too. Mm-hmm. Like those street videos on TikTok where people ask, like simple questions. Or I'm talking like elementary questions. Rank the solar system in order from smallest to largest. I don't know if you saw this video on Veritasium, the YouTube channel.
I love Veritasium.
He had a street segment where he goes around to random people on the sidewalk and asks them, all right, given the moon and the 9 planets, or 8 planets, I should say, rank them from smallest to largest. How would you rank that?
From the moon?
Starting from the moon to the planets, rank them from smallest to largest.
Dude, I'd say, well, first off, the moon's not a planet.
In terms of size, you're ranking the moon and the planets. So the moon explicitly
excluding all the other moons.
We're excluding all the other moons. We're talking about you have moon, Mercury, Venus.
You might go Pluto.
Pluto wasn't on the list. Sorry,
okay.
I should specify the list. The list was the moon, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn.
I can get you from the moon, and then I know the solar system.
Okay.
The thing is, it took me until the age of 30 to realize that the solar system goes in a circle. Right. For the longest time, I thought it went in an oval.
Yeah,
dude, it took that long for me to figure that out.
Well, not including the orbit of Pluto, you're saying, because Pluto is more.
Oh yeah. Like I thought for some reason in my head that wintertime was when the Earth was further from the sun.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, and for some reason I thought it had like a cracked egg shape as we go around the sun. And I'm like, no, it's a perfect circle. And
is it really?
Yeah, it's
Earth's orbit around the sun is a perfect circle.
Don't quote me.
Okay,
but it's more circular than it is oval.
Got it.
And it turns out it's only because of the axis of the way that Earth turns during this circle that.
But conceptually, you would be able to, maybe you would get one wrong, right? Like there's some nuance between some of the planets, but you would conceptually get.
I know Jupiter's the biggest.
Okay.
And I know Jupiter's a gas giant.
There are people in the Veritasium video who'd say Jupiter first. The smallest.
Oh.
So wrong. They go like, what happened in the education environment that people even remotely thought that was the case? Like, we're not talking about astrophysics of level of education to know something that is so conceptually simple.
Dude, you're telling me. I mean, shit, these like shorts and all this TikTok shit really fucks up people's attention and memory. Memory is
something I personally struggle with.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case for you, but I've been proactive about trying to be conscious about increasing my memory performance because this just sucks.
Yeah, I feel like doing it through smoking a lot of marijuana because that affects my short-term memory. So it
makes it worse.
No, it's like exercising. It's like going to the gym. If I can really push through the marijuana high and I can remember what I have to say.
I see. that okay. That's funny. Yeah, like so that was really shocking to me. I feel like when I went to public school, my wife went to public school, it didn't feel like this. Like now when I talk to young kids, it's just like it's empty shells. There's not a lot of intellect that's coming out of the future generation. Sucks. Okay. And the other thing I was thinking about is like public school should be the de facto institution for learning. You shouldn't have to consciously think about, if I want good education, I have to go to this private school and I have to do all this extra work. It's like public school should be the best form of education. Like that's going to have the highest impact for the collective benefit. If everyone in America gets top-tier education and it's public, that is a much better reality for Americans.
I agree. I couldn't bring up anyone who could disagree. As we raise our level of education... Yeah,
it is.
I would like to see that,
because it is interesting. If you ever look at like graduation videos from the 90s, pre-internet, and beyond, right? Maybe even the 60s. School looks exactly the same. Replace the outfits, replace the black and white film with color, and the entire environment has not changed. It's still lockers, it's still backpacks, and it's still, desks aligned in a grid format, and then one teacher at the front. We haven't updated schooling. We're talking about post-microprocessor invention, post-mobile compute, post-internet, post a lot of foundational, industry-changing technologies. Education still remains the same. Every business has adapted to the computer. Education doesn't. Yeah, they may be great online. They do a little teacher login online. But fundamentally, the act of educating is still exactly done the same way. I don't understand that. Textbooks are still expensive for colleges. It seems like a grift. Why is this not a PDF at this point?
Yeah.
It's like some of the best educational content that I've seen is always online, done by really brilliant creators. One of them is 3 Blue, 1 Brown.
I love that one.
Dude,
They taught me calculus.
That's some of the best educational content online, period.
It's the animations that really make it good.
Elon Musk had a great thing about education. He's like, if you take a movie like The Dark Knight, for example, this was, by the way, he gave this talk in 2009. So The Dark Knight, for context, 2008.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, if you look at The Dark Knight, the finished product is like this 2.5 hour ordeal, but it took 9 months to make, of professional actors, professional directors, professional screenwriters, professional set creators, professional editors, color grading, music production. It's all these really great people building this collapsible thing that you experience in 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, education in the current form is more like theater acting out The Dark Knight. They're creating set pieces on the fly. The actors aren't that great. The director, they're just kind of repeating the concepts, but they're doing it in this mechanical and a repeated fashion. And it's like, that's not what education should be. It should be like the greatest resources make a thing that lives on forever without a teacher. 3 Blues, 1 Brown videos are a perfect example of that. His video on neural networks is priceless to this day.
Yep.
I think it's like,
he'll teach you deep learning.
yeah, I think it's like six years old, and that's probably a better video on neural networks than any college intro.
Mm-hmm.
And college intro would take 3 months to get through, probably, or 6 months to get through. That's a 2-hour video series to watch on 3 Blue, 1 Brown to understand like a deep intuition of neural networks. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's the future of education for sure. But he's a brilliant guy. I don't know what his name is, his actual real name.
He was on Lex Friedman's
Yes.
podcast.
Oh, Grant something.
Yeah, animations, man. I think that's where it's at. Like, even when I go back to Schoolhouse Rock, it's this old thing that, like, they do sing-alongs and animations on, like, the Constitution and shit.
Okay.
Yeah, like...
You're doing sing-alongs?
Yeah. They did sing-alongs and whatnot. So, yeah.
That's funny.
Schoolhouse Rock. That was a good show. But, yeah, animations, you're able to really take what was in your head and show it to people. And I think and I have this really weird feeling because I'm noticing that, like, the resume is dying.
Is it?
I think so. I quit applying to a lot of jobs.
Is there a startup opportunity here, potential?
Yeah.
To kill the resume? Like, that's such a clear problem.
Well, the resume is being replaced by the podcast, I think.
No, they're still asking
channels.
for resumes. Companies totally still ask for a primary way of screening people's resumes.
Yeah, they do. I lost a lot of faith in those going to a company's website and applying for a job because I'm just wasting too much of my damn time. When it's like I can make one video and get it in front of hundreds of people, and as opposed to like wasting my time to try to putting my heart and soul into making this beautiful resume and cover letter to apply for a fake fucking job. It's like, fuck that. I've been burned too many times. I got battered child syndrome for that shit.
One of my favorite sayings is Paul Graham's on doing a startup.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, all a job is an increased distance between you and the customer.
That's true, because that's one more part of yourself you had to automate out to another person or thing.
But it's like, it goes you, some hierarchy, the boss, and then the customer.
Mm-hmm.
Doing a startup is you've basically eliminated the entire distance or resistance behind you and the customer, and you're interacting directly. And it's like, when you look at it from that perspective, a job sounds like the riskiest thing you can do, not the safest thing you can do.
I like that point.
It's like, so yeah, for hiring, it's more like whatever you're applying for, there's nuance to this, because I think that not all jobs are just an economic opportunity. It scratches maybe an itch that cannot be solved by money. For example, if you work at SpaceX, I think that's like one of the great companies of our time. Like, you're really making a tremendous improvement to humanity's potential by working there. It's not just a money play. But if you are going to work like most people, which is you're just going there for the money, the safest thing you can do is figure out who you want your customer to be and then go sell to them directly.
Mm-hmm.
That to me just is a no-brainer. And so making content feels like a no-brainer for getting customers. That's really the best reason to do it. It's like an audition. It's like, hey, look what I can do. Here's what I consistently do. Here's what I repeatedly do. And you can tell immediately, without bullshit, because it's easy to line resumes. You can tell immediately by someone's content. For example, 3 blue, 1 brown. You just know he's smart. You can just tell. He's given hours, thousands of hours of his life to this content. You know for a fact.
An animator.
Right.
Is what he had.
And he wrote his own animation library.
Yeah, he
Python.
had to write his own scripts. This is a huge thing.
Yeah. Would you ever think about giving him a coding quiz?
You'd be a dumb idiot.
It'd be the biggest pointless waste of time. You saw what he already made. It's like the audition is already done. There's no need to re-audition every single time.
Coding quizzes are just a bunch of bullshit. They are such a way to really discourage people.
Like products, like I mentioned earlier, the tax is on the end user versus the tax is on the creator. I think resumes put the tax on the applier, not on the hirer.
Yeah. And the thing is, your resume could not be formatted right. It doesn't comply to their algorithms.
Oh, I see what you're
standards.
saying. I see.
It'll never get seen. There's so much bullshit, man. And
is that a common case?
Dude,
where the formatting of the text on the page automatically is nullified by whatever the algorithm they're using to scan them in?
Mm-hmm. I've wasted too much time in my life with applying for thousands of fucking jobs.
Interesting.
It's like, of 1,000 jobs, I'll get 3 interviews. Of those interviews, they're all virtual and they all want free consultation. That's basically what they're all about. They didn't want any person to fill the role. They just needed free consultation. And that's one of the reasons why people post fake jobs. It drives a lot of traffic to a website. It keeps a lot of time on the website. And it increases the click-through rate. So people are there on your website longer. Applying. So
you're saying they post fake jobs to almost like backlink support?
To increase their domain authority.
Interesting.
Yes.
Is this a known hack?
Yeah. It's like 5 reasons. Okay. And the fact is, no one's going to hold them accountable.
Sure.
And they're compiling data on qualified resume candidates of like, okay, well, that guy was, we would have totally hired Peter. He's totally what we want. But we can't hire him because we don't know what we want and we don't have the money. But we're going to take Peter's resume and we're going to remember Peter and we're going to compile a resume with him and other people. And we're going to have this master resume and we're going to be like, this is the master resume.
Interesting.
And it's so much shit, dude. It's easier to fucking get YouTube to show your shit.
Have you ever thought about doing something in this space? Given the personal frustration and potentially
the dating.
To
YouTube. Okay. That's why I'm doing the podcast, because I realized like the resume's dead.
Interesting.
Because of that shit.
That's such a great line for a startup.
Yeah.
We're killing the resume.
Yeah, the resume's dead. The podcast is the new resume. I was talking to Alex and whatnot, and he's like blah 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 blah, and all these things and ideas. I'm like, dude, just keep doing your podcast.
Right.
You guys you guys produce more views from your one podcast than I get, then we'll show up at the damn TEDx show that I went to in Spokane.
Oh, there was a TEDx here?
Yeah, they do a TEDx in Spokane.
Did you speak?
A year.
Did you present?
I didn't
speak.
Okay.
Oh, you just attended?
Yeah, I just attend to look for guests.
How was it?
It was all right. I had Graham Moorhead on the podcast. I actually had
That's
three people.
That's the Gonzaga professor?
He is the Gonzaga adjunct professor, Graham Moorhead.
Was he your teacher when you were? Okay.
No, I didn't ever meet him until the TEDx event. But and plus he teaches in the computer science program, and I was in the business school for management information systems.
Okay.
So two separate things. But either way, that brings up another good point, like standing up in front of people, like you're the teacher at the front of the classroom. I don't know why, but people seem to respond to that too.
Great educators for sure. Like the great TED Talks, not TEDx, are fascinating. If you go back to any TED video from like 12 years ago or 15 years ago, Jeff Bezos actually presented at TED. Really amazing. But I feel like the domain itself doesn't necessarily lend itself to good content. But when good content uses that domain, it seems to have some other special effect in terms of absorbing information. Like a great lecture, like a Richard Feynman lecture, are just incredible. Like, so there's something about that guy and that way of communicating in that kind of context of a lecture. You learn so much quicker. I don't know what it is.
You should definitely do a TED Talk then. I've thought about that. If I was to do a TED Talk, I would have to bring my own cameraman.
Why is that?
Because they come out with their own shit at their own time, and they own the content. Because that's the thing that's the dirty little secret of TED that I learned.
TEDx or TED? Because TEDx is the franchise of TED that anyone can host, but TED is the.
Then I guess TEDx would be
okay.
Better. So, yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
You told me that.
Oh yeah. No, TED.
It's all the same shit.
TED is the NBA. TEDx is varsity middle school.
Got you. Okay,
yeah. No,
that makes sense.
The orders of magnitude of content quality.
I didn't even realize that.
Yes.
Yeah. They tricked me.
Yep.
So TEDx, what they do is they work you for free for 3 nights straight.
Okay.
Working the stage. I don't know what those guys got out of it other than they got to practice running their mouths on a stage. But none of them had any call to action to like, hey, scan this QR code or whatever. Or look me up on YouTube. Even that. That would have gotten, like each night, if maybe there's 300 people in the theater each night, that's less than 1,000 people. Let's pretend it's 1,000. And if you just had that call to action, hey, be sure to like, subscribe. Maybe get 10%.
Well, a lot of people I've seen that use TEDx as a kind of social signaling, because it's not common knowledge for that TED and TEDx are two different things. And so they kind of use the brand of TED and the value behind it. And then they use TEDx and say, hey, I was a TED speaker. But it's like, really, I was a TEDx speaker.
Yes.
There's a subtle difference.
Yes.
TED is you're invited. TEDx, you can host it yourself.
Yeah, I've only had TEDx speakers on. So
that's not to say there aren't great TEDx videos. One of my favorites is How to Land the Space Shuttle. There's this great video. This dude's not even an astronaut, but he does this great analysis on the complexities of deorbiting the space shuttle and then actually landing on the Kennedy space runway in Florida. It's like this 30-minute talk, and it's fantastic. So there is great content out there that happen to be TEDx, but the overwhelming majority, like 99% of TED videos, are fantastic and worth your time, versus 99% of TEDx videos are not.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I think about, though, what's the cheapest, best way to get in front of a group of people consistently?
My favorite perspective on this is Naval's, and that is authenticity wins over the long run.
Okay.
If you chase the viral viewer, they don't care about you. They don't care about your content. They don't care about anything. They're onto one viral video, onto the next, onto the next. There's no loyalty in their viewership. So virality equals no loyalty. Versus authenticity comes with a loyal following. The people who really value your content will will continue valuing your content in the long run and stay with you. So the question maybe shouldn't be how to get the most amount of attention. It's just how do I get authentic attention? Because that's the one that's valuable.
That's very true. How do I get authentic engagement?
Yes.
Where people are going to genuinely give me digital assets.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. Yeah, dude. Yeah. I think about that. And I'm really happy with how far Alex has came with Toe Piglet.
In what regard? Like the YouTube subscriber growth or?
Yeah, 0 to hero, man.
Yeah.
And I...
That's a great example of organic, authentic audience. There was no hacks. Yeah, there was no hacks. There's no growth hacks. There's no virality trick. There's no paid ads. None of that nonsense. Like, if you make good content over time, people will give you their time of day.
Yeah.
That seems to be the equation for value. No, he's done an incredible job. It's a lot of work making videos over that course of time. And I think one of his biggest growth periods came from the fact that he decided, I believe, to upload every single day, or I forget what the schedule was, but he decided to upload consistently for like 3 months, and that ended up changing the most. That's where he got a lot of growth and exposure from. People like consistency. They don't want to invest in a dying brand.
That, and you guys have a great niche.
Yeah,
dude. I think about
trucking is not sexy content typically.
It's a unique industry. I didn't ever know about what hot rodding was. Hot shot.
Hot shot, yep.
Until you brought it up. And I brought it up to one of my cousins who's a CDL trucker. He's like, hot shot, what's that? I'm like, yeah, no, blah, 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 blah. Oh, interesting. Like, yeah, there's a whole industry around it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no shit.
Yeah, regulation amongst, so for the audience who might not know, hot shotting just means you're pulling typically a tractor trailer combo that's going to be under 26,000 pounds when fully loaded.
I think the whole thing is cool because it's like a hacker industry.
The argument is that it's not that much weight. So a fully loaded semi, for perspective, is 80,000 pounds. So, we're talking about almost 4 times the amount of weight. Well, not really 4 times, but 3.5. The amount of capacity, and it gets dangerous at that point. So anything over, even a pound over, by the way, this is the fun thing about regulation. There has to be a hard line somewhere, and a millimeter past that line always feels reasonable, but you can logically continually increasing the line at a millimeter at a time anyways. So it's like, is there any danger between 26,000 and 1 pound versus just 26,000? It's like, no, there isn't. But if you're loaded at 26,000 and 1 pound and you don't have a CDL, that's an immediate out of service. They pull you over to the side of the road and they don't let you move until you get something off your trailer.
Damn.
Yeah. It's super strict. These weight regulations, same thing for trucking companies that are over 80,000. If they can't get a weight permit, they will get pulled over. So we have this is actually a pretty common frustration for trucking companies. Let's say you have a big rig, right? This applies to hot shots or big rigs, doesn't matter. And we'll do the hot shot example. Let's say your first piece of cargo is 5,000 pounds and you have half of your trailer available. And you get an actual scale ticket. So you drive up on some scales that are for trucks, and you get a scale ticket and you show, okay, I still have 5,000 pounds worth of capacity available. And you go to a shipper and the shipper goes, our product weighs 4,200 pounds. You're like, perfect. I have a buffer of 800 pounds. And you load up on Friday afternoon. Right when you get loaded up, the closest scale from you is an hour away. The shipper, you got there right before closing, by the way. And, so they load you and then they close up shop and you drive on your way knowing that you have 800 pounds of capacity. You're golden. You get onto the scale and it turns out the product wasn't 4,200 pounds, but it was 6,200 pounds. Oh. This happens all the time. Now they're closed, and you have 2 options. Run with the risk of getting pulled over and put out of service, or wait till Monday and return back the product, which at that point, the customer will be upset with you, the middleman will be upset with you, and so forth. So like this is a common occurrence where the shipper themselves are not liable for the mistakes of accuracy. The carrier is always penalized for this. And the logic is, right, well, you have to put the blame somewhere. And the blame is, well, any trucker could overload their truck and go like, well, the shipper told me it's that. So the blame game is just stopped right then and there. You're responsible for what's on your truck and trailer. No ifs, ands, or buts. So it's a pretty common headache of weight accuracy in the trucking space, regardless of hotshot or semis.
Dude,
yeah.
I didn't even know this.
Yeah. The regulation aspect of trucking is very strict. There's even situations like brand new straps for securement. Mm-hmm. The government has a lot of regulation on that. Frayed threads, I'm talking about brand new straps, could be a ticket or a violation. So you have to burn off the frayed threads if they come from the factory like that, or you risk getting pulled over and getting a ticket for that. The amount of punishment that comes in the form of government regulation to the average customer is pretty insane. And only the carrier is liable. It's such a disproportionate amount of balance.
You're right. Kim Jong-un would never have to deal with that.
Right, yeah.
He would never have to worry about fucking having to burn off frays to make a strap look government compliant.
Right. Yeah.
That's bullshit, dude.
Oh yeah. I can't tell you how many countless of times we've run into issues with the government, and it's just like, who cares? That's the law. That's the rule. Another one is logbook. This was a big point of contention when they put the logbook into effect. And the logbook, for anyone who doesn't know, prior to 2017, you had to self-report your driving time to the government. So the government has these rules for the commercial vehicle standard of how many hours a truck driver can drive before they're mandated to take a rest. Mm-hmm. So right now it's about 70 hours a week before you have to do what's known as a 34-hour restart, meaning you literally have to sit and be in the same place for 34 hours, mandated rest before you can start driving again, and your 70-hour window resets. And then that breaks down per day of driving 11 hours and being on duty for 14 hours a day. So the most a truck driver can drive per day is 11 hours, no more. Now it's important to realize how crazy this is from two perspectives. The first one is the standard American work week is 40 hours a week. Mm-hmm. If you work a desk gig, which is not mentally draining, taxing, or in any other way in danger of being in danger of sleepiness, is cause for concern for your for other people around you. Mm-hmm. And if you work an hour over 40 hours, the federal government mandates overtime. But if you drive a big rig, your standard work week is 70 hours with no overtime. This is one of the most backwards things about compensation in the trucking industry. 70-hour weeks are the norm, not the exception. People would start a riot in America if tomorrow the American corporation required every single person in the United States to work a 70-hour work week without overtime compensation.
Yeah.
That's the norm for most truck drivers. It's a very difficult job. And so the government basically says that it's such a dangerous job that if you work more than 11 hours per day driving, you're a risk to the road. And so they mandate that you stop. And then they have break times in the middle of when do you have to take a break and for how long, usually 30-minute break, 2 30-minute breaks a day. But prior to 2017, all of this was tracked on paper. Meaning if a police officer pulled you over and he'd say, let me see the last 7 days of your driving, you would show them the last 7 days on your paper log entry, and he would look over your hours and say, yep, these are good, these are valid, there's no issues here. However, the easiest thing here is that, well, if you need to drive a little bit more, you just rip out your paper and rewrite it. Mm-hmm. It's like I started driving at 9 a.m. Well, actually, no, I started driving at 10 a.m., 10:30 it was, right? And then that's how you can drive longer. You get pulled over, you redo your paper log, and go on your merry way. This is common. Mm-hmm. So the government's like, all right, we need to stop this. And in 2017, they created a mandate that basically said, by the end of 2019, we are moving to a digital tracking system. That means right when your truck starts moving past like 5 miles an hour, so you can move in a parking spot without activating the logbook. But if you exceed 5 miles per hour, your logbook kicks on automatically. So starts right when it starts tracking, that's it. Now there's a huge downside to this. So let's say you're a truck driver and you're pulling out of a shipper and you just started your day and you get onto the freeway and you notice that there's a huge traffic rush. There's a huge traffic roadblock. Some kind of accident happened and you're going to be forced to stay parked for 3 hours. You might be able to say, hey, screw this. I'll just jump off the exit. I'll go take a 3-hour nap and then I'll start my day in 3 hours when this thing is done. With the ELD, you can't do that. There is no pause button. Once the clock starts, it cannot be stopped. So there's no optimizations to be made in terms of, well, I'd rather take a break right now and then drive when I'm feeling better. It's like if let's say you start driving and then you get food poisoning halfway into your shift. You can't just take a break. Your clock is going. So it's actually in some ways more dangerous in my opinion. They should have made the rule 11 hours in a 24-hour period versus a set fixed 11 hours. You should be able to break up those 11 hours any which way you want. But the government says once you start the 11, you cannot stop it. And that to me is backwards. Besides the point, at 2019, the entire trucking industry came online. Literally, there's a database amongst a bunch of different vendors, but the database is there of every single truck in America in real time, GPS location, and their availability. So that's a powerful tool in terms of matching freight. It's like we now have the database that's digital and real time to know exactly where every truck is in America and exactly their availability and time. And then we have this other database of all the freight. Mm-hmm. Why don't we just algorithmically connect these two? And the third database is going to be what's on the trailer already. That's the trifecta.
That right there would probably get you government contract with DOT.
Well, I don't know if DOT is involved in shipping a lot. They're definitely involved in the regulation side of things.
Yeah.
Plus, yeah.
Shit, you seem to know a whole hell of a lot more than I would ever care to know about the trucking industry.
Unless you're in trucking, there would be literally no reason to know this, but very important to know when you're in trucking. Mm-hmm. And a lot of headaches come with this. So one of the actually, I think, good protections that have come in is a broker cannot force mandate you to run over your logbook. So let's say you're running out of time. And if you run out of time, you have to sit idly for 34 hours. And the broker is asking you, please, please, please just drive past your logbook. Because it's not like your engine shuts down when you run out of time. Mm-hmm. It just goes onto a permanent database that if you do get pulled over or you get audited in the next few years, the government can always penalize you for going over on your clock. So it's just kind of like, it's in your permanent record, if you will, of driving time that the government can pull up any time historically if they pull you over. And so this is how you get penalized. But if a broker is asking you to violate federal law, well, you have this protection to say, well, I can't do that, buddy. And you can't get mad at me. You can't penalize me in any other way that says that, hey, I have to violate the logbook to make your delivery. But they sure will try. Mm-hmm. People definitely will say, hey, well, I won't give you more work in the future if you don't make this delivery happen. It's like, but I can't. And it is kind of stupid that there's no buffer of any kind. It's like if you're a minute late, it's game over. There's no undo, by a minute, nothing. It's the weirdest, strict part of trucking.
Dude, all I know is if I was like in a truck, if I was trucking, hot-shotting, and I needed help in a pinch, your voice would be great to hear over the fucking phone. Like, Peter, I need your help. I don't know what the hell's going on. I got this load.
Yeah. I'm
sure you would know how to solve those problems.
I think I've had to solve that problem maybe a few thousand times over the course of a few years. Very, very common. But it's a super taxing industry. There's a few things that I think besides like the literal opportunities in trucking in terms of software. One of the ones that's not disclosed at all or talked about mostly is I think trucking has the highest obesity rate of any industry.
Dude, totally.
And the highest smoking rate of any industry. Mm-hmm. It's not, they're like, man, that's so problematic. Like people are literally giving their lives to make a buck. And in the same time, they're sacrificing their own reality just to do a job. Mm-hmm. It's like that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, my Uncle Paul, he was a trucker his whole life. Now he still works for him, but no, he's retired. He had hip replacement surgery, sitting on his ass.
He had to get a hip replacement surgery from trucking?
Yeah, sitting on his ass for all those years.
Shit.
Yeah, sitting's the new smoking, man. It's
right.
Bad. And he's not a fat dude. He was skinny.
Wow, okay.
Skinny. Yeah. Good bowler, too.
Nice.
He had to get a hip replacement.
Maybe he had to get a hip replacement surgery because of that.
Maybe.
You got to use your hips on that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. Freaking bowling. So, how did the industry of hot shotting come about?
From what I know, it started within the oil fields. Yeah. So the oil fields, specifically in the southern parts of the country, Texas and Oklahoma, they would need to move different oil rig equipment or pipes across these multi-hundred mile job sites, 200-mile hop or 250-mile hop. And they would do this on rigs with like a Dodge Ram 3500 and a gooseneck trailer. And that started because they realized there's no need to pay for a premium on shipping with a semi-truck. To have a semi-truck show up on site, take a shipment, and then deliver it 200 miles. They could just load it up because it's not that heavy on a gooseneck trailer attached to like a Dodge Ram 3500 and get the same job done for cheaper. And the benefit is not requiring a CDL. Because if it's lightweight equipment and you're loaded up, you're going to be way under that 26,000 pound limit. And so that's really the origin story, as I understand it, of hotshotting. And then slowly people caught on and realized that, hey, I don't need a CDL. I can just buy a 3500 and a gooseneck trailer, get my authority, so that's an MC number and DOT number, and start hauling commercial freight. It's been an interesting boom and a net effect that no CDL is required to haul commercial freight. It's interesting that the licensing requirement for CDLs is not for commercial freight, but for weight. They could change this law at a moment's notice and say, if you're hauling commercially and professionally, you need a CDL. But then they would require CDLs for every single parcel delivery service too. It's like your mailman would all of a sudden need a CDL, which is the case for some UPS drivers, but not all of them. So maybe that's the reason they haven't done it, because UPS and FedEx probably have enough lobbying power where they wouldn't want to train everybody up to have a CDL. That'd be a very expensive thing to do. However, there was one interesting bullshit government story about this. I think it's Schneider, one of the big corporations in trucking. They have, I think, tens of thousands of trucks. And the government there has certain stringent requirements on CDL training and people who can get a CDL permit and start driving with an experienced CDL driver in the passenger seat. So this is kind of how the training program works. You get a driver's permit, but for commercial driving, for commercial driver's license, driving an 18-wheeler, you would have a permit, and then you could work with a person who has a certain amount of experience as a CDL holder that sits in passenger. Schneider got exemption from the DOT that it was quote unquote more safer for them to just have a permit holder by themselves. They're the only trucking company, to my knowledge, to have gotten this exemption.
Holy shit.
It's ridiculous.
I've seen Schneider. Like, how could you not?
It's ridiculous. So it's like any other company that wants to have a permit holder behind the steering wheel with nobody else in the passenger seat. Well, that's illegal. But Schneider, it's okay. Now, maybe this was a few years back when I heard this, so maybe, something has changed. But, a lot of funny BS happens too with the big players and the small players. And trucking fundamentally is still fragmented to its core in a good way, where the majority of businesses, 95% of all trucking companies in the United States are 20 trucks and less. So it's exclusively dominated by small players, unlike any other industry. When you think of fast food, there's like 10 big brands that come into your head. When you think of grocery stores, there's a few national brands and a few big local brands. When you think of airlines, there's a handful of big national brands. Trucking is the exact opposite. Swift, I think, represents less than 0.5% of all of the trucks in America.
No shit.
Yeah,
and they're huge.
They're huge. They're the largest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they represent a really small minority of the trucking industry. So it's a really fascinating space that I think carriers have gotten the short end of the stick for a long time. And all of the value potential has been after the 3PL or the middleman, the brokerages, just because they have higher net margins. So I think the average broker makes about 18% net margins just being a middleman, versus being an end operator, you're making 6% net margin. 3 times less money. But you actually have all of the liability. You have to have better insurance. You have to have the truck, the trailer, and the driver. Mm-hmm. Way more complexity, way more cost, 3x less margin. Kind of nuts.
Damn, dude. I didn't even realize that. That seems like Tow Piglet could almost do like a History Channel version of like, what is hot shotting? And maybe you guys have already done that.
No, I don't think we've done that. But yeah, that'd be a fun one.
I like you were talking about, I'm thinking like an A&E show.
Oh,
and I'm like visualizing like trucks at like Halliburton, like pipes getting transported.
God damn it, Mike! You've succumbed us to reality TV people.
Yes. Yeah. Well, kind of like that. I mean, but that would be cool. No, that was a thought.
Would we need nicer asses?
No.
Okay.
No, but you can always hire them. You can always hire them. But, yeah, that was fucking cool. So, I like it because it's almost like a pirate industry. It's like exists, but,
so the interesting thing about Hotshot is the only thing you don't have is that CDL requirement. Mm-hmm. Every other requirement applies to you, though. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it's some crazy wild, wild west. They're just basically saying that, hey, RV people who transport their own personal RV, some RVs are insanely big and heavy that should require CDL that don't. Mm-hmm. And so the equivalent is if we're not requiring CDLs to haul your own RV, then relative to the same kind of mass and size, we don't require a CDL to haul freight. That to me seems the logic behind the no CDL restriction. But every other restriction applies to you.
Reminds me of this meme I saw of this RV hooked up to this flatbed that has a Caterpillar like backhoe in the back. It says no CDL required.
Right.
Yeah. That's what makes
you can be a geriatric and haul a 3-axle RV, no CDL, no training required. But if you want to haul commercially, you might need training and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I was thinking about this maybe you could use this for your stand-up comedy bit.
Oh, yeah.
The common theme that the president's job is the hardest in the world, mm-hmm. right? I don't think most people let Grandpa do most things by himself.
No.
Yet Grandpa is running the country.
Mm-hmm.
How hard could the job be? If we don't let Grandpa, pull an RV trailer, which comparatively speaking is not that complicated to being a president, why is Grandpa running the country? How hard could this job be? I don't know how to make it into a comedy bit, but that's the premise.
That's a good point. So a Joe Biden bit where I'm like, all right, so I got to relate those two things where it's like low levels of competence and they're basically there for show. It's like, why would you punish your grandpa?
When people think of their grandpa, they're not thinking the deepest thinker, the biggest intellectual, the hardest worker, the most agile. These are not probably things that people think of. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yet those same exact attributes that they think of their grandpa are the attributes we have of the current president.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. We tend to lower the standard
right.
for older people.
Right.
But yeah, dude, Trump was funny. I think about Trump all the time.
Did you see his gold sneaker?
No, I haven't seen
it. Man. Yeah, so he released a $300 gold sneaker. a high top sneaker. Oh, that's awful.
You're taking a page out of Mr. Beast. Good for him.
Dude, oh my God. It's crazy that it's come down to potentially these two again. Two geriatrics. I think Trump is 76 or 77.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, he's old.
I have a small conspiracy theory, and that is Trump used to say his dad used to tell him to retire is to expire.
Okay.
Okay, so you lose when you give up, type of deal. Like your brain just gives up if it's no longer working.
Uh-huh.
And the federal age for retirement in terms of receiving benefits is 65. Yet some of the most powerful people in our government, whether it be in Congress or at the executive level, are all 10 or 15 years past retirement age. Why isn't retirement enforced at the government level? You cannot be in public office past 65.
Couple reasons for that, and good question, and I'm glad you thought of that. Cool. Tell the world about you, Peter.
We'll do it live.
All right.
Yeah. How deep do you want me to go? Childhood or?
Got some time.
Okay. So originally born in Ukraine, Ismail was the town. We came to the United States when I was 3 years old, to Spokane, Washington, actually. So that was in 1997. Grew up most of my life here in Spokane, Washington area. And when I was 18, I ended up moving to upstate New York, where my brother was living at the time, and ended up doing a 5-year stint in upstate New York before moving back to Spokane, Washington when I was 22. Mm-hmm. Since then, kind of a overall theme was the goal of entrepreneurship, even in early life. That spirit mainly comes from my parents, well, my dad specifically, where he's always kind of had an entrepreneurial gist to him. Everything revolves around that kind of way of life. So that was kind of an early childhood exposure. And I remember when I was like 16 or what, and I was kind of frustrated with that reality because it's not like it wasn't a Steve Jobs entrepreneur, right? There's a distinction here. It's like 99% of entrepreneurs are broke. Yeah. Probably. I don't know if that's a true statistic, but I'm just riffing here. But anyways, they had always like a small business experience. My dad had like coffee stands here in the Spokane area. So he had a few locations actually. And then they ended up selling those, and they got a grocery store, a European deli and bakery specifically. And that was a lot of years of that was early teenage life. So we worked in the store. I was homeschooled right before going to high school. So from that age up until 18, I worked at my parents' store.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it got exposed to all that stuff really early on. Didn't understand it, didn't appreciate it. Only later through exposing myself to entrepreneurial stories. Henry Ford was one that really stuck out to me when I was younger, only because Henry Ford was famously illiterate. So he did not know how to read and write well. He ended up dropping out of school in early life, like I think 5th grade, if I recall correctly, and ended up working on his parents' farm from like that age on. And so we're talking about no middle school, no high school education, and just the trials and tribulations of his life resonated kind of deeply, just because it never felt like a success in our family, despite my parents doing a really great job raising us. They still had economic frustrations throughout our entire life. And so Henry Ford was a story that resonated, that made me understand my parents more. And then Steve Jobs is another famous one. And I'm sure a lot of people love Steve Jobs, but his story specifically because he doesn't speak like a billionaire. He doesn't think like a billionaire. He's not this like finance guy. He's not some Warren Buffett character where they just analyze numbers on a page. It was more of human. Steve Jobs' personality. It's like, I always like to say like Steve Jobs is a farmer who became a billionaire. Like he's got that kind of farmer wisdom and just a perspective on life that's unique to, a person who just like a guru almost. And so those two stories were really, a highlight of like entrepreneurship, in my opinion. Obviously, Henry Ford, Steve Jobs, that's like the 1% of 1% of 1% type of personalities. But it's crazy the parallels between their story arc and like what I saw with my dad. It's just like trial and tribulation, struggle, overcoming, trial and tribulation, overcoming, and it's just repeated. Granted, the numbers are different, but the path is very similar in nature. So that's a little bit of a background in early life. I think I did a decent job summing that up.
Dude, yeah. So where's your dad now?
Still in Spokane, Washington. So my parents are full-time ministers.
Oh.
Yeah, they sold their business in 2019. And so then they ended up doing ministry full time, and that's what they've been doing ever since.
God bless them.
Yeah, they still work on the side when they're back in town, but their primary kind of use of time right now is being full-time ministers.
That's cool. It reminds me of a guy I had on, Pasha Petronov, who was he's part of the Spokane Ukrainian group.
Okay.
Yeah, he runs the Ukrainian store.
Do you know which one?
It's like the free store that they hand out stuff at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They have a Ukrainian one, like
yeah,
like a Salvation Army, but Ukrainian focused.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I highlighted it in the beginning of the podcast during his intro, so you can see all that stuff.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
But yeah, he's a cool guy. But I like that story. I like immigrants because they have a different perspective.
Do you mean legal immigrants?
Well, I mean, we definitely need the illegal ones too right now because, I mean, that's how they solve the labor problem.
Who else is going to vote? Am I right?
Yeah, who else is going to vote and solve the labor problem? And they make money and paying taxes and all that stuff. So cool. So that's a cool transition. So you're very, very unselfish parents that they, had things, created something good, passed the knowledge on to you and your brother and you and your brothers, I should say.
Yep.
And you guys have taken that and you're experimenting in your own way. You're venturing out. And I wonder if you guys are going to follow back in the same path of your parents. Like you'll expand and then you'll go ministry.
I don't know if ministry is in the path, but the principles definitely are inherited.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's probably the most important part that they could have done, is just a belief in oneself's abilities to overcome challenge. Like I think if you were to kind of just sum up everything they taught us, it's like you don't ever let challenge kind of destroy your reality. Versus I think more, Western thinking, challenges are often seen as a bad or a difficulty that can shatter one's reality. I think like immigration specifically.
Oh yeah.
Did the camera go off?
Did it go off?
It looks like it's still recording.
Fuck, I didn't even have it running.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's right. You could use.
Whatever. We'll just keep going.
Yep.
And I'll edit it.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Anyway. Cool.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Holy shit. Well, at least we have on the front part and I can edit it out.
Yeah. Maybe one day AI will solve recording issues, huh?
Well, I'll be able to edit all of it out. It doesn't matter. So it's all good.
Yeah,
So I mean, able to edit like what you said to the back end of after it goes blank.
25 presenters, 25 different startups, a bunch of different Syracuse University students. And when I walked the room, it was just a bunch of like, Syracuse University is kind of like Gonzaga in this respect. Expensive school. I think the tuition there is like $30,000 a year or something like that.
Yeah, dude, my buddy went to Syracuse.
Oh, no shit.
Analytics.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it's expensive.
And so I ended up presenting SharePlay or the idea of it at that moment, and I won best pitch for the startup. And when I went to go collect my $500, they said like, "Great, show me your ID card." And I was like, "I'm not a student here." And they're like, "Oh, this is a student-only event, buddy." So apparently they didn't check on the registration if you're a student or not. But they gave me the certificate for winning, but they did not give me the $500 because I wasn't a student. Those bastards. However,
good for you. That's fucking cool story.
Ended up beating the other kids. Definitely a confidence boost in that respect, where like they're paying to go study entrepreneurship, and they lost. Mm-hmm. And that was the main event for that night, the best presentation.
They lost to an entrepreneur who wasn't there as a student. That's fucking cool anyway, Carrie.
Yeah, and that ended up leading to an interview or meeting with a angel investor in the area. He ended up reaching out to me and said, "Hey, I heard your pitch. Want to talk more? Let's chat." I ended up meeting him, and I was 19 at the time. Didn't end up getting anywhere in terms of funding or traction on like building the idea. I was paying for it to get developed, and that doesn't really work. You have to learn how to code. And after that kind of business died down, or the idea died down, I reached out to the investor, and I was like, hey man, I realize I know nothing, but I want to learn. Are there any startups that are hiring? I don't care if it's an internship. I'm willing to work for free. And he was like, hey, well, there's a startup venture accelerator in the area. You should go apply there. And I'll make it a soft introduction, a warm intro. And he made a warm intro to the gentleman that ran the program. His name was Chuck Storman. And a few of the requirements to intern at that program was you had to be in one of the top universities in the local area. So like RIT, Cornell, Syracuse University. And you had to be studying computer science or some form of engineering degree. I was a dropout from a community college. No chance of getting in on paper. Like my resume does not stack up against people going to freaking Cornell. Mm-hmm. I met with Chuck, who ran the program, and I just shared with him the story of like share play and presenting and winning and et cetera and trying to build it. And he's like, all right, I'll give you a shot. And he's like, do this task, yada, yada. He gave me some simple tasks to do. And I ended up doing them like 24 hours later because I was excited to do something. And he ended up liking it so much that he's like, all right, you're in the program. Cool. Now we need 7 more interns. And that was in January, and the program didn't start until summer, so like 6 months. And for 6 months, I got to hang around with Chuck and his business partner, Nasir Ali. And we would travel to different schools, different entrepreneurship events, meet startups, and I got to see how these people reason and how they evaluate startups and just be around that overall environment. And when it came time to hiring and doing work for the accelerator, I was tasked with building like the first website for them, some kind of portal, and I ended up using like WordPress to build this, so no code. Mm-hmm. And then when it came to hiring interns, me and the program coordinator were tasked with like going through like a few hundred resumes for this program. And the most ironic outcome would be a person who would not pass any of the filters because I didn't go to Syracuse University or any of the top tier schools. I wasn't studying computer science or engineering. Yet here I was going through resumes, figuring out who should we hire. Most backward course of events in that situation. That one really altered my way of thinking in terms of like bullshit rules. Because here I am in this program that if I followed the quote unquote official application process, I would have never gotten in because I didn't go to school. Like it's pretty simple. Like you don't go to a top tier university, out. So that one rewired my brain for forever. It was like, I do not respect man-made rules. It's like, unless I'm breaking some fundamental law of nature, then it's possible. If it's a man-made rule, it's breakable. We ended up hiring 7 other interns for that summer. It was an unpaid internship, so hiring is a misnomer here. But during that, it was a 3-month program. And during that internship, it was just like this moment of, I used to put like startups on a pedestal in a lot of way. And here I am in the room with all these guys, and they're just normal dudes, just normal guys. And I was like, all right, of all the times that I never got to learn how to, code or figure things out on my own, here's a room where everyone around me is programming. Like this is the greatest time to learn programming. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to learn programming this summer. And the task I had was not just to learn how to code, but to actually make something as well. Mm-hmm. And in that 3-month program, I ended up learning how to code. My first programming language was Objective-C. Mm-hmm. And I made the iOS app for that program for demo day. So on demo day, a group of investors show up, and it's like 150 people. All the startups are pitching to them. And we had this agenda app that investors could download. They could see the schedule for the day. They could see all the companies, look at their bios, contact them, in-app, things like that. Pretty basic, first app. But I made it from ground up myself. And so Chuck ended up really liking that and then extended my internship to his own startup that I ended up working for about 6 months as an intern. And then I actually got officially hired on, where I picked up full stack development within his startup, just learning from the people on the team, and made some more apps, made some more websites. Then I did freelance, where I did full stack work for small businesses, real estate companies, etc. After that point, I tried to start my own startup for contact management that was real time. So if I shared a contact with you to your phone, if I ended up updating that contact in my phone, it would update that contact in your phone as well.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
a concept
that would like save a lot of people's issues.
And so that didn't end up really going anywhere, but that was right around the time where I ended up moving back to Washington, and I started a trucking company with my brother. He actually started it, but it was still just 2 trucks. And then when I joined on, we kind of amplified our skill set together and grew that company to just over $4.5 million in revenue a year. And that's actually, that 6-year period of building software for ourselves was probably the most impactful. Because prior to that, I was obsessed with design, like how something looked, how something worked. And while that's good when you have customers or you're like an Apple type of brand, it doesn't make sense for startups. The most important thing that you need to focus on as a startup is, does it solve a problem? And so
value adding.
That's right. Yeah. Y Combinator has a great way of thinking about this, which is your startup a vitamin or a painkiller?
Ooh, that's a good way.
That's a very great test for most products. Because vitamins, people will have to, like, you have to convince people, you have to spend a lot on advertising, you have to, like, it just takes a lot of effort, you have to be really great at branding, messaging, etc. But if it's a painkiller, you don't care what box it comes in, what the label looks like, I'm in goddamn pain, please make it go away right now. And developing software for the trucking company was all painkillers. So it was always ugly internal products that solved problems. And it was just this obvious realization, this light bulb moment of going like, people don't care what it looks like. People care what it does. What does it solve? And Dispatch Robot started as an internal tool for myself because I got so sick and tired of not being able to automatically find the best freight that I was like, there's got to be a code way of solving this problem. I've done enough automation at this point that this one was the next logical step. So I built an MVP for ourselves, and I sat on that actually for a little bit. It was like almost a year of just running, like improving this internal tool. And then I ended up demoing it to a few of my buddies who were also in the industry, and they wanted it. So I was like, all right, let me share it with these guys. And then slowly but surely, I just shared it with more and more people. And that's kind of how I realized that maybe I'm onto something as a startup versus dedicating my time to trucking directly. Maybe I could do something indirectly. So that's how that started, and the whole technological domino effect.
I think it's really awesome.
Yeah.
I think the whole thing is very impressive, and it doesn't do enough justice to what you've actually done, which is improve the lives of the trucking community, the hotshotters.
Yeah, it's hard to measure that. So it's not something that I'm going to beat my chest on, but I think the ideal can definitely help. Not just drivers, but dispatchers too. It's a pretty soul-sucking job. It's akin to stock trading.
Sitting on your butt.
Sitting on your butt.
Smoking.
Sitting on your butt.
Smoke all day.
Well, here's where it gets worse. It's sitting on your butt, glued to a screen, where the upside is not 6 figures or millions of dollars. The upside is just a regular salary. How many jobs are like that, where you sit on your butt, glued to a screen, especially if it's real-time work like dispatch, but it's just like a regular paycheck? This should not be what humanity spends its time on. This is such a silly thing to spend time on. There's a lot of jobs that I go like, this is silly. We should not do this. It's like, it's almost better to figure out how for most of humanity you shouldn't work. Like, let most people just be great people, period. You know, it's like, I would much rather have a reality where we have more daycare centers than jobs. It's like more people having more kids would be better for society. People are going to be more friendlier. I feel like people, when they have kids, they end up seeing that everyone was at one point a kid. You don't really think about that until you have kids.
That's true.
You have a lot more sympathy of people who screwed their life up at 18 or 17 because you realize your own kid is going to be 17 and that they were this innocent thing. Up until they were 15, they were completely innocent. And then in the last 2 years, it went off the rails. Versus before you have kids and someone is screwing up their life, you're like, that kid idiot deserves it. So, yeah, like bullshit jobs should go away. We should kill bullshit work.
I agree.
And I think a lot of work is bullshit.
I agree. I totally agree. That's why I think that's really what you're doing is powerful. I think that more individuals that go out and just try to innovate ways to solve a problem to reduce an individual in the workforce, that's fucking good.
Yeah.
But hey, dude, we've been going at 3 hours,
Jesus
15
Christ.
minutes.
Let's wrap. Yeah.
All right. So, first off, what books do you want people to read, and where can people find you?
What books do I want people to read? Is that what you ask every guest?
If I can remember.
Okay. One that really is, I think, valuable to read to understand history is The People's History of the United States.
Okay.
I haven't finished it, but it looks at the history of the United States from the lens of the average Joe, not the winners, not the perspective of George Washington, but the perspective of some Native American, for example. Really illuminating history that makes you appreciate modern reality. And then, let me see if I can think of another one that. Oh, I recently just finished Elon Musk's biography by Walter Isaacson.
Okay.
Totally recommend.
All right.
Yeah, that was really incredible. It's long, but it was an easy read. And then there's I have a stack of books that I'm going through right now that I should probably comment on once I'm done reading them. But those are the two that stand out in recent memory. Elon Musk and The People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn.
Cool. All right. So where can people find you?
So dispatchrobot.ai is our startup's website. And my personal Twitter is Peter24, Petr 24. Peter's how I spell my name. Funny joke there, where in Russian, my name is spelled with 4 letters. And when we immigrated to the United States and they asked for my parents to translate my name, they just literally translated it to 4 letters. And that's why it's Petr and not Peter. So fun. If an AI made this mistake, we would think it's a dumb AI. But if a human makes a mistake, it's kind of a fun one. So Peter24 on Twitter, Peter24 on GitHub. And yeah, dispatchrobot.ai for our startup.
And Topig.
And yeah, Piglet, my brother, also the chief marketing officer at dispatchrobot.ai. He has a YouTube channel called Piglet, and we make content for dispatchrobot.ai on his channel as well.
Cool. I hope you guys all enjoyed this podcast as much as I did. Be sure to like, subscribe, and check out all of Peter's links in the video description below. Remember that sharing is caring. And leave comments because they improve ranking and add prominence. Bye.
Peace.